Hi, everyone. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do our hellos. First thing, Jeanette, good morning. Durbin, good morning. Florina, good morning. Kara, good morning. Shannon, why? She only said it twice, me and then everyone else. Natalie, good morning. Cece, good morning. Foggy, good morning. Shannon, hello. Let's see. Renee, good morning. Let's see. Josephine, good morning. Well, we are here. Today's a special stream. Am I a little loud? My mic looks like... Oh, Kara! Okay, I'm with Shannon on that one. It's 3 a.m., girl. What you doing? Anyway, let me know if the mic sounds okay. Like on my screen, the bar looks a little peaky. Just got done picking colors. Melissa, hello. That's what okay, now that makes more sense. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. Hi, Alex. Granted, there's a lot of times I don't understand what's happening. Anyway, it's pretty cloudy today, and so like our lighting is a little off. And also, if you hear anything different in my voice, this is why I canceled stream yesterday. And I was really hoping against hope that my pattern was going to follow what Steve and Little Steve said, because Little Steve was sick earlier this week. But he was only sick for like a day, and the next day he was fine. Like it was a sore throat for a day. And then Steve got the same thing, and then I did. Thanks, Jen. And then I did. I was like, okay, fingers crossed. We're just gonna take Friday to rest her because I did not want to reschedule today. Like, no, absolutely not. And so anyway, I was very relieved. So now it's just, anyway, so if I sound that way, that's what it is. Wait, did I miss it? Wait, you said you were moving, right? Oh, that's crazy. I remember that though. Honestly, there was something satisfying when I packed my coloring books because they were all in there. Anyway, we have a lot going on today. I'm gonna turn my sound down a little. Let me know if the music's too loud or if it's too distracting. But anyway, we are here. It is Saturday, and the reason we are streaming on Saturday instead of Friday is because today is a special stream. Fridays, if you're just coming in or you're unfamiliar with how we do things, Fridays are usually our live stream days where we work on whatever page it is that we're working on at the moment. Currently working on a Kirby Roseanne's page. Oh, that's right. When do you guys, if you're okay with saying, when do you guys move? Thank you. Yes. And the reason we're doing it on Saturday is because we are celebrating my birthday. And for my birthday, my big old 40th birthday. Anyway, when the house sells. Okay, that makes sense. But for my 40th, I said, let's do something special. I've been painting a lot of like little fruits and whatnot. You can see them all up on my Etsy store. A handful of them are sold out, but there are a few more left up there. So thank you, Kara. 54 of them. That's right. You're an April baby too. Happy birthday, Renee. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Cha-cha-cha. Jazz hands. Oh, thanks, Jeanette. So, oddly enough, of the paintings I have available on the Etsy, none of them are strawberries. And I was initially going to do, let's see if I've got it here. I was going to do cherries, which it's not done because it was at this point that I realized there is no way on God's green earth we are going to be able to do this in an acceptable amount of time, which means we are going longer than usual today. Normally we go for about 2 hours, but we're going to go until it's done. Happy birthday, 57 on Thursday. Well, happy birthday. Oh my gosh, talk about all the little Aries babies. I love it. You're my people. Anyway, so eventually I'll finish this one and it may go up in the shop. And if I missed anyone coming in, I apologize. But anyway, strawberry hadn't been done yet. And I obviously can see I did a few test runs and I was like, okay, this one we can done. I would speculate, because obviously I stopped to chat and everything, and these were ones where I was semi-distracted, because hello, ADHD. I look at something shiny and I'm like, ooh, and shiny mean being my phone. And if I start, swiping through on Instagram, it's just the afternoon shot. Anyway, but I think we should be able to get it done in about 3 hours. Now, if you have to go or you can't be here for it, or Sun turns 20 tomorrow, oh, well, happy birthday to him as well. No worries. This is going to stay up. You can revisit it. I like doing things live because I feel like I can interact with you guys. And if you have questions, we can go from there. So let's talk supplies first. Now I set up this live stream a while ago, and in the description, we have everything that we're using today, as well as some additional supplies, because I'm going to be using the Winsor Newton Designer, and I'm using this because I really like it. I'm most comfortable with it. However, I use these because I sell paintings for them. They are a professional grade paint, and consequently that means that they're going to be a little bit more expensive. So I don't recall the price for this one exactly, but a lot of these tubes of paint run anywhere from $10 to like $15. Like, it really just depends on the pigment. And that's really all it is. So like, I've got this one here, Cypress Green. You can tell because they will say like Series 1, Series 2 on it. Let's zoom in here. So like, this one is a Series 2. The whites are a Series 1. The Series 3s, I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Like, this is a 2. The 3s are the most expensive ones. And I really didn't want anyone to have to run out and spend way more than they need to on painting supplies, which is why I also did some versions in watercolor. So it is doable in watercolor, and we're going to talk about a little bit of the differences. So if you're following along with watercolor, it's not going to be the exact same thing. So what I did is I actually numbered these because as I went along, I refined my process a little bit. So you'll see how some of them changes. So 3 of these, or 4 of these, some of them are the designer gouache, and that's because I was notepad. It's okay. You can watch it when you get settled. Hi, Connie. I wanted to fine tune it and make sure I could streamline it a bit for you guys. So first things first, let's see. This one is the designer. That one is the designer. That's the watercolor. We've got, yeah, I've marked it all back here. This one was the designer. So because I thought about doing another one in gouache, but you're gonna get the same effects either way. So these ones are all in gouache. These ones are in watercolor. And I did 2 for the watercolor because when you have pan watercolor versus tube watercolor, the tube watercolor, and let's see, let's put these, yeah, these are the right ones. So this one is the Arteza. This one is the Winsor Newton Cotman one. Now the Cotman ones are Winsor Newton's pan paints. This one's just a small set. I figured if I was going to do it for this one, the names had all come off of these ages ago. Thanks, Renee. And so I actually looked up the color charts on Winsor Newton's website so that at the very least, these are the colors, and depending on what watercolors you have, because I have a number of pan ones. I've got obviously the Winsor Newton. I do have Arteza ones, and I thought about doing more Arteza. But here's the thing. Arteza is not the same company that it was when they sent me stuff to review. They have since been bought out by Plaid Crafts, which puts out like the apple barrel and all these little ones. Anyway, the watercolor pans that I have are no longer available. So at the very least, I wanted to try and use supplies that are readily available to the community, and you can match them up accordingly. So that is why I made this little chart. You'll find in the description below, because they're packed, you'll find in the description below all of the color lists that I used for each one. Now, I also made some notes as I was going along. I've been using this so much. We've been using this to keep track of colors and everything else. So this is what I started keeping track of everything. I was even marking down the prices and actually we can just go down the list here. So first things first, watercolor paper. And again, if you'd rather just like skip ahead, feel free. I don't know at what point it'll stop, but if you're watching it later and you want to skip ahead, this information is all in the description as well. But I want to make sure that we cover everything as best as we can. So this is the watercolor paper that I use. It's Strathmore watercolor. It's cold press, 9x12. So what I do for this is I just cut the sizes that I need. Anytime I've done any of these smaller ones, I just cut it all from here. You can purchase some watercolor palettes that have these things pre-cut, but it's like, I already had this. I wasn't going to spend a ton more money on it. So you can cut them to fit what you want. I did the same thing with the paintings that are on sale in the Etsy store. I just cut them to fit. And the marker pen, yeah, Strathmore. is wonderful. I've tried a number of different ones from different companies that have sent, but I mean, this one's cost effective. It's readily available. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it in art stores. It's just a very common thing to hold. So like I said, I do the Strathmore watercolor. This one is the 9x12, and I just cut to fit. And you can use just scissors if you want, but I also use my handy dandy paper cutter. When you're doing bigger things, it's handy because you can fold this out and then you can measure and make sure that you're getting the same thing on there. So anyway, that is what we do for the paper. And again, since I'm getting over this cold, I'm probably gonna be stopping. Steve brought me some tea as well, because you guys, I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule, which means I've cut out coffee for a little while, and it's been a week without it. It's rough, man, it's rough. And also, I don't know if it's making it better or worse. So yes, I have some strawberry things out. It's coincidental. These are items that I've been wanting, and they were birthday gifts. But this right here is a lamp candle warmer. Stay strong, sister. I'm working on it. But here's the funny thing. So this is a little strawberry themed candle warmer, which is super cute, right? It's not an open flame. I don't leave it, you know, unattended or anything. But that candle right there is one my mother-in-law got for me when we went to Oregon last year. And it's from my favorite coffee shop there. And it smells, it's a coffee candle. So I'm enjoying the smell. I really am. But it might be making things worse. Anyway, so in the interim, we have tea. We're gonna make it work. Anyway, I pushed the wrong button. Okay, I think we're good. You also see this is still empty, but it's empty for a reason. So if you look down at the bottom of the stay tuned thing, there's going to be an announcement at the end. Barbara, hello, Barbara. I was lurking in your stream all morning. Thanks, Josephine. I suppose that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I catch, you know, little sparkles in the hair, but I heard somebody refer to it as glitter in your hair, and I'm like, I'll take it. Sparkle, glitter, it works. Oh, God. I'm not gonna lie, guys, the headaches this week have been monstrous. They've been terrible. They're finally subsiding, but I hate to say it, but I have been able to go to bed earlier and consequently get sleep more. So it's more that I miss the flavor. I could always do decaf, but I feel like it's a slippery slope, so it's a thing. But anyway, yes, candle that smells like my coffee. We'll see. We'll see how well it works. But anyway, let's see, where was I? So yeah, coffee, water, coffee candle. All right, hang on. Ooh, that tea is really hot. Might have burned my tongue. It's cool. It's fine. You're fine, Barbara. It was looking wonderful. I loved it. All right, so other supplies we're using. Now, I went ahead and got this specifically for the stream. And what this is Winsor Newton Colorless Art Masking Fluid. They have some other ones that aren't colorless or whatever. But the reason I got this is partially for time's sake. Now, if I was just painting this on my own and I was only painting one strawberry, I probably wouldn't bother with it. But for the sake of the stream, I got it. And I think that if you aren't super comfortable yet with painting, it's really handy to have. So we're gonna be applying it today so you can see it. This is you can't really see it because I have the lines printed really light, but this is mine. And what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be using this masking fluid on all of the little seed spots. And the other thing I've been doing, because again, for time's sake, sometimes I can, my hands shake and they can get a little sloppy. We're actually going to be doing a border of the masking fluid around. So you can see on this one, I didn't do that as much. And if you look closely, there we go. Can you see that little pink smudge? I did white pencil over the top to try and cover it, but there were multiple times that I put my hand in it and made a mess. So the border around the edge is going to help us keep it nice and clean. So the other thing is don't, if you need to move it a little bit, don't shake it a bunch. Like if you want to try and mix it up, just roll it in your hand, because otherwise you get so many bubbles and you end up with a lot of bubbles on your paintbrush and you can't get as precise details. So again, the links for everything is in the description. Is this 100% necessary? No. If you don't have it or it's not in the budget, whatever else, don't worry about it. Don't run out and get it. I have it marked as $11.99 in my book, but that's on Amazon. It was a little bit, it was funny. It was $11.99 on Amazon. It was listed as $12.99 at Hobby Lobby, which is where I got it because I didn't want to wait for shipping time. But in store, it was a little bit cheaper. But essentially, you're going to find this from around between $11 and $13. And I mean, it lasts a while. There's quite a bit in here. So if you have shaky hands like me, or you're doing things like the strawberry where there's lots of little individual seeds, this is incredibly handy. When it dries, it's got a little bit of a tacky feeling, but what you'll do, oh, I have the fan on medium and it just blew a card down from my shelf. Yes, that's a very good point, Melissa. I almost forgot that. If you are sensitive to smells, if strong smells trigger a migraine or nausea or whatever else, skip this entirely. It does have a smell. I'm trying to think, what could it's not like a permanent marker smell. What does it smell like? Yeah, it's just, okay, wait a minute. My nose is stuffy, so I can't give an accurate, because right now, for whatever reason, smells like fish. My nose is messed up right now. So just know, it doesn't smell like fish to everybody else, but my nose is off because the whole cold. It does have a strong smell, but once it's dry on the paper, it doesn't have a smell. So something, like I said, something to keep in mind if you're sensitive to smells, if it triggers migraines, nausea, whatever, skip it. So the brown school glue. Yeah, and that's funny. So this one's colorless. The other ones do dry a little bit darker. I want to test this out in coloring books, because the only other time I used it was way back when. I don't know if you guys remember. Centered on that. I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember when Johanna's Christmas came out? And Johanna, oh yeah, a little bit. She did that color along with the rabbit, on that one. So she used, oh, I realized all these things are up. We're gonna get to that, computer. We're gonna get to that. Hold on. She used this, and I used it in the book, and I just remember that when I rolled it up, it tore the paper a little bit. And I don't know if that was just user error or whatever. I just have that in the back of my memory. So I need to test this out in coloring books. But as far as watercolor paper is concerned, it works great. It was perfectly fine. When you're done, you just use your finger and kind of rub it up. Like, oh, rubber cement. Is that what you're thinking about, Renee? Because that's what it feels like. Like, it's a little tacky, but once it's dry, it won't smear or anything. So that's that. So hair bleach. I've never bleached my hair, but I'll take your word for it. It's got a strong smell to it, to be sure. Oh, that's the other thing. If you have allergies to latex, do not get this. It specifically says it on the back of the bottle. Yeah, if you have an allergy to latex, stay away. But if smells and latex do not bother you at all, it's really handy because you can free flow with it just a bit. Oh, awesome. So I did get that for this. Is it absolutely necessary? No. Does it make our job a little bit easier? Yes. Okay, so let's talk brushes, okay? So the brushes that I have, this one is going to be for the masking fluid. I would recommend, one, yes, a small brush because we're going to be putting bits on little seeds. But two, a brush maybe that you're not super attached to. I had, at one point, I was able to peel all the leftover stuff off, but it does get it a little gummy. So if you have a nice $10 watercolor brush and you're like, oh, I'll just use that and clean it, I would avoid it. Get a second paintbrush that's small and allocate that one specifically to the masking fluid. The other ones I have listed in there. I've been using my Pro Markers today. First time in 20 years I found also, oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. So the paintbrushes we're gonna use. These ones here I got individually in a art store. So I was able to pick specifically the ones that I want. Oh, Bits and Bobs. I heard you saying that, but I was in the middle of getting ready. But yes, Bits and Bobs, that's what it was called. Speak the little things. Yeah, Bits and Bobs. You were close. You were close. I giggled a little because you said, like, I think you said bits and boops, which is funny because you say boop when you like boop a cat's nose. But yes, bits and bobs. But anyway, so what I have listed in the description is bits. I mean, I suppose. Oh, I didn't think about that, Connie. Good call. Yeah, and definitely, this is not like the end-all be-all. How to paint a strawberry. This is how I paint a strawberry. And if you want to learn from that, there we go. Bits and bobs. So the brushes that I have are, and I think deep down, it's really the sizes that are kind of important for this versus, you know, like, oh, you have to get this brand and this brush, because everybody has, sorry, it's really cloudy, I'll say, outside, so I'm trying to make sure it stays bright. Everybody has their own preference for the kinds of brushes that they use. So you don't necessarily need to go out and get this brand. Now this one does come from a set. These three I got individually. So I have linked a set that has some of these. You can see I use this one a lot because I've worn off the lettering. Yes. Most definitely. So I do have the links for these ones, but what we're using, this one is a maybe. It depends on how quickly you're going to want to like lay down a lot of your main color. So if I wasn't on a time crunch and wasn't teaching, I probably would just use these. They're great, Barbara. I love them. So then these one are the Da Vinci Cosmo Top Spin. These are watercolor brushes. Now you can't see what size this one is, again, because I've worn it off, but this one here is a 0. So this one is a 0. Then we have a 3/0. We may or may not use this one. My issue with these really tiny ones, let's get that in focus. With these really tiny ones is that the bristles, I've used it for a few years, and so the bristles are a little well loved, so it's not quite as fine point as I would like, but I do use the number 3 quite a bit, and then I keep these 6 on hand. Hang on, I'm gonna clear my throat real quick. Again, if you missed in the beginning, I am getting over a cold right now, so you'll have to bear with me for that. Like I said, I really, really, really did not want to cancel today. Anyway, so those are the brushes that we're using. All right, so we've got the paper, we've got the masking fluid. Hi, B. We've got the paper, masking fluid, we got the brushes. So let's talk paints now. I know I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth. So obviously your experience is going to be different based on what you are using at home. So first things first, I have these. I have the Winsor Newton Designer Gouache. And again, any gouache will work. Whichever gouache you are most comfortable with, whichever one you have. These are just the ones that I use frequently, and I don't really reach for anything else anymore. But so full disclosure, we'll go over what I did with these ones. So for these ones, like I said, I have the colors listed. All right. So these ones were that. We're going to go over that in a little bit. So this one was done with that one. This one is not. These 3 were all done with the designer gouache. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and I was replaying this in my head when I was planning all this out, your strawberries will not look like my strawberries. Even if you are 10 times the painter, whatever else, it's not going to look the same. And the reason is I did 6 of these. And while they all have the same essence, not a single one of them is exactly the same. Some of that has to do with supplies. Some of that has to do with, this was the first one that I did. I actually numbered these specifically so I could show you guys like kind of the change in this, right? So this was number 1, and this was without masking fluid. Again, like I went out of it a little bit. This one was a little bit messier. I did, Barbara, I'm not gonna lie, I was getting a little tired of painting strawberries by the end, but I know that not everybody has all of the same supplies, so I wanted to make sure that there were plenty of examples of everything else. So, you know, if you get frustrated because you're like, oh, I'm using watercolor, it's not gouache, it is possible. It is possible. So this one, I can tell you right now, this one was not true to color. So I'm gonna pull up, we have 3 things. Here, we're gonna pause the paint for just a second. We do have 3 things, resources that I have linked below, all right? So we have our color reference for this one, and I'll explain that one here in a minute, all right? Then we have our line art, which is what I have here. Let's see if it's, there we go. I have mine printed really, really light, and a big part of that is because my printer is an inkjet, and if I were to do straight black lines, it would bleed because my ink is not waterproof. So things to keep in mind when you print it. You can either trace it onto it, you can print it, just keep in mind, print lighter lines if you don't want your bleeding ink to be super noticeable. But these are all in the description. The file for this, it's a 4x4, so you can print it out and do it that way, all right? And then the other one is our reference photo. Now, keep in mind, this is what you're seeing through the camera. In real life, it actually does match this pretty well, but that's like the digital one. And just as anyone came in, we will be going to this painting's done today. Like I said, I think we can get it done in about 3 hours. Depends on when I stop talking, but I wanted to make sure that we covered a lot of this. So I'm going to turn these off for here just a second. Okay, we'll leave this one up. But yeah, 6 times, not a one of them looks exactly the same. But also, despite color, trust that the color matches this in real life a little bit more. They don't look exactly like this strawberry either. It's not a picture, right? It's open to artistic interpretation. So this was number 1. And when I was done with it, I realized I did a lot darker colors. And part of it was I was using more the primary red, which is my cooler red, versus the spectrum red, which is the warmer red, which is what we're going to be using most of today. All right, so this one was definitely my, okay, I need to rework this a little bit, all right? Number 2, not that one. Number 2 was this one. This was when I used the masking fluid. However, I pulled it off too early, and that's why I got smudges. So I was able to refine it a little bit more, all right? Then we have number 3. Now, this one is the Winsor Newton Student Grade Gouache. Here, we're gonna turn this one off while we do this. All right, so this is the student grade gouache, and I made a few notes about this because, again, while you can do this with any gouache that you have, not all gouache are created equal. And when I say student grade, they tend to make this with, you know, it's going to be more cost effective. When I say student, it doesn't mean that it's worse. It just means think student. What can students afford to buy? You know, as far as ingredients, you know, sure, upgrade to higher quality stuff later, but there are going to be a few flaws. So some of the things that I noted down on here is, obviously I have a good number of color choices because I bought individual tubes with my gouache rather than a full set. I started with the 10 set and I added other ones. So these are a 10 set, okay? They're gonna look like this. On Amazon, they're $15.74, okay? So to give you an idea, for the set of 10, this is $15.74 versus something that are like these where that's almost the cost of the whole tube. So you're going to find a slight difference in quality. So I found that the more that you thin the colors, like I treated these like I treat these ones. So use the same amount of water with these as I did here, and I found that the color was less robust than the color for here using a bit more water. The other thing is it doesn't quite reactivate as well. And why that's important when you're choosing your supplies is that you just need to change your method a little bit to cater that. So for instance, maybe use a little less water, maybe don't layer quite as much kind of thing. Because what I'll do is I'll put down layers, but I know that I'm gonna reactivate it and put other layers on top. It also took a little bit longer to dry. And then the only other thing that I noted is when I was done with it, and I rub my finger on it because I'm rubbing my finger on the inside because we have all those little dots from the strawberries, is I found that it shifted the pigment just enough that it made some of the colors a little bit more dull. So what I did is once I was done and I had clearly like smudged around some of that pigment, despite the fact that it was dry, I retouched it up a little bit when I was done. So obviously whatever gouache you have, you know, you can run some test runs with it. You don't absolutely need to follow along with me today. You can revisit it later, whatever. Just go at your own pace. Okay, so that was this one. And this is going to be equivalent to, hi, Miss Scones. This is going to be equivalent to probably some of the more mainstream ones. You're going to be looking at like the same price point. So again, this was 10 of them for $15.74. So when you are picking out which gouache you want to use, keep that in mind. All right, so that was the third one that I did. Number 4 was this one, and this was the watercolor tube. Okay, and these ones, because they're tubes and it's liquid, it actually worked almost identically to what it would have for the gouache. Like, you just were able to put a lot of paint on your brush. So I actually didn't notice a lot of differences between the tube watercolors and my gouache. It was pretty good. Arteza also has tube gouaches, which are also good. They're kind of my secondary choice. Again, the only reason I don't recommend a lot of Arteza stuff these days is because of lack of availability, because their company has completely changed. It's not to say that their stuff isn't good, it's just not all that available anymore. I didn't really have a ton of notes on the watercolor one. I noted down, like literally I said, I noted down, you know, that it, you can see episode 31, sneak peek right there. I'll show you guys that at the end. We have a lot of announcements at the end. And also we have a lovely, lovely community member that sent me a couple of gifts, which I haven't opened yet. Steve opened them to make sure that they were, you know, everything was sound and whatever else. But I've been staring at the boxes for a little while, so I'm excited to open those. But anyway, we'll do all those announcements. We've got a quilt announcement. We're going to open a couple gifts, and I can show you guys a sneak peek of episode 31. It's not done yet because, you know, God's sake. Yay. But I put that it layered well, and I need to try pans to compare. And I was going to do the Arteza pans, but then when I started doing research, I realized that they are no longer available, the ones that I have. So I was like, all right, let's switch it up. Now, I do have Winsor, like a larger set of the Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors. But I wanted to do something that was a bit more readily available. So I have this smaller travel set, and I went ahead and hunted down the names. And so that is this one here. So the way that these ones worked, let's see, did I put down any specific notes? Yeah, the only thing I really noted on here was that the layer order is slightly different compared to the gouache. So that's just, I mean, with watercolor, because you know, it's thinner a little bit. Just pay attention to how you're layering them. Definitely don't go in with your dark colors first. You're going to want to build up to your lighter colors. So for the most part, you should be able to switch around. I didn't use any of my designer gouache, any of the permanent gouache. All of these cards, I stuck to the supplies specifically. The watercolor did have white. And so I did utilize that, and I was able to get some highlights and everything. So these ones had the 12 different colors, all of your basic colors. Definitely used more of the cadmium red pale hue, some of the alizarin, but for whatever set you have, we're going to be using a lot more of the warmer red. I know it looks a little bit orange on camera, but if you were to put an orange in between these two, you'd see it has a little bit red. Perfect. Yeah, that's the thing. I love Winsor & Newton, like all of their stuff. I mean, we've got the masking fluid. I've got the designer gouache. These are the watercolors. Like yeah, here we go. I have had this palette for ages, and it has been through the mill quite a bit. This was one of the first ones that I got when I started doing the adult coloring. For whatever reason, I don't know, I've got a bunch of other like tube stuff in here too. I misplaced one of them, so that's part of the reason why I didn't use these, but also this palette is just a hot mess, and I'm like, I need to simplify that. So that's why I went ahead and grabbed the smaller one to show you don't need a ton of different colors to do that. In fact, there would probably, I should have done a strawberry using like only primary colors, but most of the watercolor sets that you're gonna get, they're gonna have something like this. And create yourself a swatch. If you really wanna see what it looks like when it dries, create yourself a swatch and get a better idea of what colors you're gonna get out of whatever set you have. Okay, so that is supplies. So now we got one more thing to go over before we start putting down our masking fluid, and we can kind of go through it. Like I said, let's see, that was the watercolor tube. Oh yeah, and this is going to be kind of our reference for today because I like this one the best. Just funny, as I was completing them, I was having I was having the kids and Steve pick out their favorites. So I was like, okay, of these 6. And in fact, I did that on Instagram too, and it was really interesting to see everybody's responses, you know, because everybody has a different eye, you know? All right, so now let's talk resources, okay? So in the description below, I have 3 documents for it. They're all just on Google Drive. You can just grab them from there. So like I said, this one here, this one is the line art. This is the one that you're going to want to either trace or print out or whatever else, okay? These ones, so these reference photos too, you're not going to find these on Google. I may or may not have told Steve specifically when I was doing these, hey, when you, oh, and the watercolor, just reactivate, it's good. I said, when you go to the store, can you do me a favor and try to find the most photogenic strawberries that you can find? And so he did. And I specifically picked out, I had a really big one, but I was like, that's going to be too much to paint. So I chose a small strawberry and I did a little photo shoot. So I created us our own reference photos. And that's something you want to keep in mind too, especially if you are going to like try and sell things. Do your best. Now, obviously, if you are, you know, painting subjects that you can't find, like say you're a person that paints tigers or lions or whatever else, obviously a normal person can't just find photos of that. But if you're painting something that is readily available to yourself, in general, it is better for you to get your own, like take your own pictures, use your own reference photos. Because let's say for some reason you're like, I want to paint some fruit, right? And so you go on Google and you pull up a picture of a bunch of bananas, right? But you don't necessarily pay attention to where that's posted for. Let's say it's a big company called WeSellBananas.com, all right? So now you've taken We Sell Bananas picture and you've painted it and then you post it for sale. That crosses the line of kind of, while that picture isn't copyright, that does cross the line of intellectual property. So if you are planning on selling your paintings and you need a reference photo, do your best to get your own personal reference photos, because they're your photos, they're your creations, and there's nobody that can come at you later to be like, hey, that's my picture, you can't sell that painting. Because how frustrating would that be if you paint this beautiful bunch of bananas and you've spent hours on it and you put it up there for sale and you're like, sweet, this is going to be my income, it'll be fabulous, and then WeSellBananas.com says, hey, those are our bananas. So yeah. Perfect. Yeah, right there. So like I said, for these ones, you're not going to find these on Google, but you will find them in the description, because I have they're just little Google Drive things. So you're going to find this one, which is your reference photo, this one, which is a palette, which we're going to talk about here in a second, and then your line drawing as well. So everything you need to do this is going to be down there. It's yours to use. Everything's fabulous. So let's talk a little bit here. We're going to turn this one off. And this one. And this is the last thing we're going to talk about before we get started painting. So I'll have to like make a note of when we're done so I can put it in the description and tell people like, okay, if you want to skip all of the chit chat, this is when we start painting. You'd be surprised how many people are like, oh my God, she's talking. I'm like, it says color in chat. What do you want from me, people? Okay, so this is our reference photo. And I was actually talking to my mom about this because she went to like one of those paint and sip nights with her friends, except it wasn't painting, they were doing pastels. And her teacher, the instructor there told them, you know, take some time, stare at the fruit. It was a mango. Right? It was perfect. Well, I turned it at a couple angles and I specifically looked for strawberries that were in the box that had some color variation, not completely red. I wanted to showcase, like, you know, it doesn't have to be fully red. Right? So I specifically angled it for that yellow spot. I actually have a whole file of strawberries that I like did a bracket on. I'm like, okay, this one, no. So yeah, I like I said, I did a little strawberry photo shoot. But anyway, so in this class, the instructor was trying to show my mom and the other women there, like, stare at the object. Like, you're going to be surprised about how many colors pop out at you, right? So when you look at a strawberry, you think, okay, the body is green, which in fact, see, like when you look at something like this that's artistic, the strawberry is red, the leaves are green, that's it, right? When in reality, you have all of these different colors on here, right? So you would think, and tell Steve having to look for strawberry, but too red, one take picture of my husband, feel less alone. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I get a little particular when it comes to my produce. Especially if I'm going to be photographing it, it needs its own photo shoot. But anyway, so when you look at it, and I'm actually going to pull it up on my phone here because I can't poke at it from the picture. Okay, so when you look at a strawberry close up, nope, that's not helpful. We'll just look at this. You would think, okay, red. I started coloring. I saw so many different colors and everything. Yes, that's exactly it. So you look at a strawberry and you think, okay, this strawberry is red, right? But when you take a little bit closer look, you're going to see, there you go. You're going to see that there are a lot more colors with it, right? So on the left side of the strawberry, when I photographed this, it was sitting on a piece of white paper. If it's sitting on like a white plate, which it was initially, you're going to get a lot more reflection. So what you're seeing on the side of that strawberry is the light reflection from the paper. And so you think, okay, that's white. So the reflection on the side needs to be white. When in reality, if you look at that top, I drew lines to where I'm pointing at things. So follow the line that points to that area, and you can see that it's not white, that it's actually a pink. And the same thing goes for this yellow spot. You think, oh, it's a yellow spot, therefore it must be yellow. But if you look at the color that's pointing to it, you can see it's more of a, I'm gonna go with Prismacolor terms here, like it's gonna be more of an ochre, more of a goldenrod kind of thing. And it's the same thing with the dot that's right under the pink one. You have this lighter cream color that's gonna be at the top where it's getting a lot more of that light reflection. And that right here is from the actual light, from the light above me. And that's the same thing where you get all of the reflections. And again, you see mine don't follow that strawberry exactly. Feel free to take some creative license with it. But all of these reflections are from the overhead light. And I photographed it in here. And the light that I have is a long, oblong kind of light that sits. So that's going to affect the, like kind of shape the way the reflections sit on the strawberry. Now, obviously with the strawberry, of course, red, but you can see all of the little markers that lead to different parts of the strawberry. We have different shades. Like for here, like I can see now, I probably should have moved the darker area here, but you can see that we've got different variations. We've got a nice deep red, you know, there, and then it comes up, and you've got an almost kind of like orangey red that's up here. So it's that same thing. Now, when you go down on the bottom, you can see where it's sitting. There's just a little bit of a shadow. And in these, we're not adding the shadows that the strawberry is sitting on. We're just adding a little bit of darkness to the bottom of the strawberry. Because, I mean, you can add the shadow, absolutely go for it. But for these particular paintings, I was like, I want to focus just on the fruit itself. So you got a little bit of darkness there and a little bit up here. Now, when it comes to the seeds, it's so funny because, and I'm going to grab it real quick. A lot of times you look at like, if you guys are familiar with like the term kawaii, which is like kind of cutesy stuff, a lot of times you default to, and I may or may not have crocheted this last week, a lot of times you default to white for your seeds, when in reality, if you miss the shadow, yeah, the shadow on the strawberry itself, yeah. So in the reality, strawberry seeds are not white. They're going to be browns, they're going to be yellows, they're going to be greens, and it really depends on the shadows or how far inset the seeds are to the strawberry. So you can see on, hang on, I'm putting my headphones back in. It's really about, and that's why I like just doing these small pieces of fruit, because it allows you to take that time to, sorry, this, I swear, you would think it's nighttime outside. The clouds outside are just crazy. I think it's supposed to storm later. Yes, oh, absolutely. How ripe it is. Yeah, underripe strawberries are going to be brighter. A really old strawberry is going to be much darker. The seeds are going to be sitting differently. So this was like day of stress, you know, straight from the grocery store ripe strawberry. But you can see all of the, so all of the dots that are on the left-hand side of the color palette reference are of the strawberry itself. All of the dots on the bottom are references of the seeds. So you can see where, obviously my light is coming from the top and it's hitting here mostly. But when you get to this area, you're looking at some darker seeds. And because it's a fresh strawberry, some of, oh, sounds good, Barbara. Oh, Wish I had a pony. The seeds on here, you're going to see more of that green and that light yellow. So you don't necessarily want to do all your seeds the same color because it all has to do with where it's sitting, what color it is, all that kind of stuff. And then for the colors, and again, you can see mine don't match it perfectly, and it absolutely doesn't have to. It's just about looking closer and seeing what colors are there. So, you know, on the color palette on the top here, we've got some darker greens, we've got some warmer greens, and then at the bottom we have very cool greens. So what this palette is supposed to do isn't a end all be all, these are the colors you should use. The only reason I did this is because it helps to break down what colors are there. And this is what I've kind of trained myself to see. Let me see if I can grab real quick. I want to show you some of the other ones. Oh my gosh, there we go. Some of the other ones that I've done. I gotta figure out which drawer I put them in. Here we go. Okay. Nope, that's not it. That's the prints. Hang on, I swear I know I've got these all in drawers. Here they are. Okay. So I'm going to grab you these ones here. All right, so hang on. They're all in their plastic at the moment. Oh, it's raining now. Well, that explains it. Okay, in that case, I don't think the kids will be going to the bar. All right, let's turn this off for just a second. So that's how I see things when I do these little paintings, right? We've got all of the different color variations. This is nectarine. We got a tomatillo, the apple. The apples have little dots on them, right? But holy crap, the sky's just like opened up. We've got all of this here. We've got the lighter color of the green. You think a green apple, like it's all one color. When in reality, it's got all of these variations of greens. I've got a little bit more, you know, warmer greens here. Same thing for the banana. On the banana, you think, okay, the inside of the banana peel and the banana itself, it's white. When in reality, you've got all of these kind of warmer colors, these almost light browns to help differentiate all of that. Same thing with the raspberry. This one I did with more cooler reds, but you've got the darker on the inside. You've got a little bit darker here, but you also have the reflection from the plate that it's sitting on. So you can see that on a lot of things. So if you're wanting to practice, because I wouldn't call this realism, I would say semi-realism. Thank you, Josephine. And these ones, okay, well, it's my store and they're my paintings, so of course I'll do it. Toot toot. These are in the Etsy shop. Anyway, garlic was especially interesting because you have all these different lines and all of these different shadows. So it's really just about, if it's something you're wanting to practice, take your time and really look at the different colors. Don't just look at an apple and see, oh, it's green, I'm just gonna paint it green. Take your time and look and see what other colors are within that apple. Okay. So let's mark down here 1047, because I want to change that in the description. You know, Durban, the grapes honestly were my favorite. I was so excited when you picked those because I was just like, oh, I love that I was able to get like the little film on top of them. Love it so much. Okay, so I'm going to mark it at 1050 is when we actually started doing this stuff. We had a lot to go over. So, but like I said, we are staying live today until this painting is finished, because I want everybody, if you are following along, I want everybody to be able to, you know, have a finished piece rather than like, okay, good luck, finish it on your own, peace out. Normally on Fridays we just do the 2 hours, but we are doing a special stream today. So first things first, so my palette is a bone dry at the moment, except for the cypress green. It always, like, I don't know what pigments they used or what. You can see it's got all the colors from when I did it before. So for my palette itself, I'm going to add a couple of fresh colors just because my the primary red dries up really fast. This one's almost empty. Let's see if I can get any more out of it. Maybe? Okay, I might have to open a new one for that one. But anyway, so yeah, if your palettes are, look at that, see? If your palettes aren't prepped, now is the time to do it. I probably should have touched these up beforehand. All right, that's the Spectrum Red. I have extra tubes of these too. But people are asking me like, oh, is this a free course? Yeah, it's gonna be free. I'm a hot mess. I don't wanna charge anyone for this. I know, I really do. I was thinking about that the other day. All right, we're gonna put a a little bit of that on there because that's what we're going to be using. Normally I wouldn't bother and I would just wait for the water, but I want to make sure that we can get some done. Okay, so I am going to, ooh, we should get some more of the Spectrum Red too. I actually used up a lot of that. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I use these little eyedroppers. Oh, for toothpaste. Oh, that's cute. All right, so we're just going to drop some drops in here. Just to, it's funny, like some of these pigments like drink up the water so much more than others. And again, I don't know all the science behind the pigments. And I'm just doing all of them because we'll be using some of these for greens. Okay, so colors, paints that I used are in the description. If you are using watercolors or a different brand of gouache, match it up however you think best. I've got the colors listed. Also, side note, look at these cute little art rags. My mother-in-law has a embroidery machine, and so for my birthday, one of the things that she did was embroider rags for me. I was like, oh, thanks. Printers are packed now too. Oh no. No, of course, Josephine, I love it. I honestly really enjoy it. All right, we're gonna move these other ones out of the way. Okay, we've got our masking fluid, we've got our brushes. So again, the colors are in the description, but we can go over a little bit because I've got them here. So for me, for these ones, I used most everything. So white, I used both the zinc and the permanent. And if you're curious the difference, so this one here is my permanent, this one here is my zinc. The difference between them is the zinc white is used for lightening colors, but the permanent white, and it can still do highlights, but especially if you're using red, you find later on as it dries, the red bleeds through with the zinc white. So the permanent white is great for highlights. So we have the permanent and the zinc white. We've got the primary yellow, permanent yellow deep, which is kind of this, you know, yellow orange one. We've got primary red, and then we have the, I don't know why I didn't list it. Maybe I didn't use any of this red with it. Anyway, this is why I write it down so I can remind myself. So then we have the Van Dyke brown, which is the nice dark brown. Then we've got the, oh no, Spectrum Red, here it is. Yeah, so we got the Spectrum Red, Linden Green, Oxide of Chromium. Some of these are ones that are not in the 10 set. These are ones I got later. So to best describe it, this one is going to be more of an olive green color. This one is a bright one. If you don't have some of these colors, there are ways that you can get to them. So like this linden green, not absolutely necessary. You could get the same color by mixing the yellow and the oxide of chromium. If you only have like this bright green, you could get this one by adding probably a little bit if you've got like an ochre color or maybe just a little bit of brown. Basically, these are more muted colors. This is a very saturated green. So your goal is to desaturate a little bit. Take a quick, you know, take a close look at the reference photo and be like, okay, well, clearly the leaf colors are more of a warm green versus a rich, cooler green. And I would classify this as a cooler green. I forgot I had the linden green. Ha! Perfect. That's awesome. So linden green, oxide of chromium, and burnt sienna, which is this kind of reddish brown. Now, again, I have all these colors partially because sometimes I just don't want to mix all the colors to get to it, especially because I was doing like the timed things. I really wanted more selection of greens so I could get them quicker. So even if you only have like a 10 set of the colors, like the Cotman watercolors. So on the Cotman watercolors, we use lemon yellow hue, cadmium yellow hue, cadmium red pale hue, alizarin crimson hue, viridian green, sap green, burnt umber, and Chinese white. Okay, so there are ways to mix it. Mess with your colors, you know, mix it around, see what works for you. And I'm just checking to see if I need to add any more water. I like to add water while I'm getting things ready. And in fact, I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow here because my yellow it's contaminated by the purple a little bit. So we are just gonna add a fresh little amount of yellow in here. You can see actually how different. Yeah, that should be a bit lighter. I don't know, I make it work. Everything gets mixed anyway, so. I needed a bit more water in the pan than I used to. Oh, about that, it works. Yeah, man, that's the great thing about watercolors is they do that. All right, we're gonna shift. Now, is there any overlay on YouTube that blocks you guys from seeing this reference photo at all? Or is it fine where it's at? Because I do want to leave that up while we work on this. Okay, I suppose I should just change it to 11 o'clock is when we actually start painting. We're gonna mark that. Okay, 11. We're gonna go for a little bit today. It's fine for desktop. Looks good for me. Okay, perfect. I just didn't want it to cover anybody. Again, you guys have access to all of these images. What I like to do when I'm doing this solo, and I may actually do it when I have it, just have my phone over here. I like to pull it up on my phone so that I can, there you go. So I can zoom in on different parts of the strawberry. So that is what I've got a little phone stand here. That is what I like to do for mine. All right, but what we're going to start first with is these. We're going to shift this up here. Okay, this is kind of our goal today, but that is our reference photo. So that is what we're working on. All right, so again, I made the mistake of shaking this the first time around. Hang on, I've got paint on me. That's the other thing. Make sure you don't have rogue paint on you so you don't get that all over your paper. See? That would have been bad. So hang on real quick. I'm just gonna wipe that off. Try not to contaminate the paper before I even get started. But honestly, different. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I always use my phone when I'm doing that. It's just so much easier to zoom in on it. Okay, so like I said, if you shake it up, you're gonna get a bunch of bubbles. And again, if you are sensitive to smells or whatever else, I would avoid using it. Not super necessary. But for the sake of the class today, I wanted to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of a dip here. I thought about like having this pre-done already. There we go. So you can see I've just got it a little bit. But I wanted to be able to do it with you guys. So we're gonna move this over. And again, if you are allergic to latex, absolutely do not use it. So my lines are printed at about 30%. So they're pretty light. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit there. And I'm just gonna go through, I'm not following the exact, like some of the ovals that I drew on here, they're like a little bit pointed, but you can refine that once you take the masking fluid off. So basically I put enough on the brush. I'm not actually like pressing the brushes too much to the page. I am just barely, like the little rounded bit of masking fluid that's on here, I'm just barely touching it down enough that it's a drop. Now I am right-handed, so I am working left to right so that I don't run my hand through it. And you can see already, do you see how my lines are getting darker? That's not just the shadow from the masking fluid. That is my ink bleeding a little bit. So if you are printing it out and all you have is inkjet, print it at least, I have found that 30% opacity is, the ink doesn't bleed as much because there's not as much, and most of it gets covered up with the paint. Alternatively, you can put it, you know, print it out, put it on a light box, trace it, whatever you want. I believe, and I don't have a laser jet printer, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if you have a laser jet, the ink shouldn't bleed at all. I would also recommend if you like, I don't know about you guys, but I have a little fan on my desk that I keep blowing on me like pretty frequently because, well, I get warm. Anyway, but if you have a fan blowing on this, I would turn it off because if it dries the masking fluid faster, it's just gonna gum up your paintbrush. I almost said toothbrush. My brain is clearly at capacity. Printing in light red? Possibly. I didn't think about that. It's probably because I need to get ink for my printer too. It was like, you're out of ink. And I'm like, I was trying to print this. And I'm like, you don't need cyan for this. Leave me alone. You just use the black ink you have, printer. I'm not printing in color. You don't need cyan. Like, I don't even care if the black is running out. You don't need much. And if you need to, when you have this all covered in the masking fluid, you could take a picture of it when you're done, because I did find that after I layered all of my paint,
some of the spots with the masking fluid that I really thickly covered with paint, they didn't come up as easily because I couldn't quite get to them. So if you take a picture when you're done, then you can remember where you put all that masking fluid so you can double check that you've got it all peeled up when you're done. Okay, we got just a few more ones. We got these divots on the side, but they don't have visible seeds, so I don't worry about them too much. Such a thing as pigment ink for printers. Ooh, that would be cool. Ours isn't printing well in black. Yeah, honestly, you could probably do any color. When it's at this level of opacity, like, it's not really noticeable at all. Okay, so now that I've got all the dots, I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna add a nice thick border. Like I said, I wouldn't probably normally do this on my own. I didn't use masking fluid on any of the paintings that I did, but for convenience of speed, since I don't want us to take absolutely all day on this, because I think everybody's like, would be like, come on, let's finish it. The masking fluid is just really handy for that, and it's nice to have it as a backup. So I do, like, what would you call that? Like a 1/4 of an inch around the outside. It all comes up, so it's not going to be left on the paper. And it just gives you that little bit of protection. And if you're unfamiliar with what masking fluid is, it's kind of how it sounds. Like, you know how you use masking tape when you're painting like a room or whatever else? It's like that. It's masking tape, but fluid, so you can peel it up. What do I say? New printer we just bought. I have to wait till we move, but I need it right now. Oh, we're repeating for Renee's. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, how long does it take to dry? Sorry, thank you for repeating that. I missed it. Really not long. By the time I'm done with this border, the inside should be all dry. And if you need to, you can, you know, blow on it a little bit, shake the card, but the dry time is negligible. You'll know when it's dry by the feeling of it. You can like very lightly touch it and it will feel tacky, but it won't stick. It won't leave any residue on your hands. Like this stuff down here is already dry, and like, I don't think this stuff is quite. I'm gonna not touch it till I know for sure. But no more than a couple of minutes, especially if you like put it in front of a small fan or something. Hang on 1 second, chat. Okay, we're back. Since the skies opened up, they were going to a thing at a park today, so they are making alternative plans. It looked like a string was there. That's just like the rubber nature of it that it was drying a little bit. I haven't used my, oh, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. Thank you, Renee. I forgot. I'm going to be using a heat gun today too. And silly me, it's not out. So I may need to take a minute while we wait for this to dry and get out my heat gun. I didn't really use my heat gun on it, but not specifically to dry it. I did use it on my paints and it didn't seem to affect it. Like, it didn't start to melt. It didn't make it more tacky, but I also didn't like just hold the heat gun to it and like, and annihilate it. I just realized, did I not put a little bit out. Did I list a heat gun in the description? Because I think I might need to make a note to do that. It's like, I never think about the heat gun because it's just like a staple. So I want to make sure that I add that. Because yeah, when painting, heat guns, most definitely, I use them very frequently. So while we let this dry completely, I will get that out. But yeah, my instinct was not heat because I was like, well, I don't know what that's going to do. So I did just use cool air to dry it, but I also used a heat gun on the paint while I was doing it, and it didn't seem to affect it. So, you know, if you were to hold it to it, down to it, it would probably bubble up a little bit, but just quick passes with the heat gun are fine. Okay, so I'm going to rinse this brush real quick. Doesn't look like it, but not listed. Okay, cool. Then I need to, thank you. See, heat gun, it's like always in the back of my head. Okay, add heat gun link. It's just because it's a staple, right? Like, oh man. I cleaned up though, so it's like now I don't even know where I put it. Okay, hang on, we're gonna rinse this brush real quick. Sorry if you're getting air blown on you, I'm walking past the fan. That's the joy of the portable mic. You guys get to come with me. Okay, so hang tight. I'm gonna dig out my, put on some like elevator music while I get this out. This is what happens when I put things away. I can't find it. Most of the time it's like plugged in too. Bear with. Ah, there it is. Yeah, heat gun when I do paints is like 100% necessary. So this is mine. This exact one isn't available online anymore, but really any of the heat guns, look for something that has, you know, a lot of good reviews. I think the one I usually link, I do have it, I do have the heat gun listed in my Amazon storefront. It's a pink one, but if you're getting a heat gun, just make sure it's a craft heat gun, because sometimes industrial heat guns are a bit much. They're a bit much. So I would avoid the industrial stuff, but craft heat guns is what you're gonna look for, and just look for something that has a lot of good reviews. Again, I got this one on Amazon, but it has long since come off Amazon. So heat gun, I can't believe I forgot to do that one. Well, I was bound to forget something. Okay, we're gonna put that there. I'm just reorganizing here. All right, so let's see here. So I think the outside, the way that I can tell that the outside is still not dry a little bit. Let's see if we can, if you guys are able to see this. Here we go. Okay, so I don't know if you can see. Oh, there you go. You can really see where the border is. So what I can see in person is that where I put plenty of similar ones available, yes. That the paper bows just a little bit where it was, and so when it starts to like flatten out, I can see like, okay, that's fully dry. So yeah, that feels pretty dry. So it's going to feel, I mean, think like Renee said, think rubber cement. That's what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel tacky, but it doesn't like stick to you. It grips. So, you know, something rubbery. And again, you can see that the colors or the lines are a little bit darker, and that's just because of where it bled. All right. So I'm going to move this up to the top corner there. There we go. All right. I'm going to get a drink here. So now here comes the paint part. All right. We've got our, hand. You know what's funny? This is actually, again, it was all just coincidental that we were painting the strawberry and I was doing strawberry stuff, because I knew we were finishing the quilt. I've been wanting to redo the decor behind me, and I saw that lamp and I fell in love. And the funny thing is, actually, this is a cookie jar, and I have been longingly staring at this in Hobby Lobby since Christmas. So, you know, birthday rolls around, I'm like, I don't even want to put anything in it. I just, like, I don't frivolous shop very often, but it was my $15 of frivolity. And it's so cute, and it matches the lamp, and it's adorable. So this is actually, I think did I say it's a succulent planter, but it works perfect for our water and pencil shavings and everything. Okay, anyway, sorry, squirrel, got distracted. All right, so what we're gonna do, do you guys want to see me, well, let's see. I'll zoom in a little bit, but I assume you'd like to see me mixing it. I'm not gonna bother wiping these off because that's kind of like what I used previously, but we are gonna grab new colors. So we are going to start with, I think, the 6. And again, if you have the strawberry reference photo up next to you, it's very helpful, which is what I've got here. Like, I know I've got it up on the stream, but I like having something close by to view. So one of the things when you look at it and you're trying to carve out where you're going to put, you know, where your reds are, where your lights are, where you have these little lines, these little curves, if you look closely at the reference photo, you're going to see that you have a little bit of red that kind of almost bubbles above that. So that's what we're going to do first. And again, you may want to reorder how you're doing things if you're doing watercolor, but for gouache, it layers really nicely. And so it allows me to kind of just lay it down in almost whichever order I want. So we're going to grab some of that Spectrum red. Okay. which is what I had there. You know what, actually, it's not gonna leave us enough room to mix, and I wanna show you guys how to mix these. Hang on, I am gonna go wipe this off real quick so that we can start with a fresh palette. I was just gonna reuse some of that, but what's the point if I'm showing you how I'm mixing it and it's already mixed? So hang on, we're just gonna wipe this off real quick. Welcome to the sink. You guys can hear me cleaning everything. Okay. All right, clean palette. Let's try that again. And again, stick around to the end because I've got a really cool thing to show you with the quilt. Is there buffering? Stream health is fine. It's not saying that there's any issues. How's your weather out there today? I mean, our weather's a little funky. Okay. And of course, with the weather changing, it's like adjusting my brightness quite a bit. All right, let's try that again, shall we? All right, so we're gonna grab some of that Spectrum Red. Okay. I am thinning it out a bit. We're kind of just mapping in our colors at the moment. So when you look at the strawberry, you can see that the darkest point is going to be kind of in the middle here. So that is what we're gonna start with. It's pretty thin at the moment. Not here? Okay, cool. Okay. Before it dries, I want to soften the edges of this. It almost looks like watercolor at the moment because I have it so thinned out. So you'll find that there are times when gouache and watercolors kind of come together. And because it's more wet, this is when the heat gun comes in handy. So now we're gonna do, there's no perfect order for this either, but what we are gonna do is I am going to switch and I'm going to grab my size 0. I love this one. I probably use it the most. Now I am gonna zoom in a little bit so that you guys can see a bit more, because all we're really mixing right now is just the Spectrum Red, but I want you guys to be able to see it up close. I'm gonna wet my brush a bit. We're gonna come over here where it's a little bit less thinned out. Okay, and where we had those little divots, I'm going to create a little bit. Now these ones that are up here aren't going to be quite as bright red as the ones down below. And again, we're not going for what it looks like exactly. Yes, we're following our image as a guideline, but there is going to be some artistic interpretation to what we're doing. A little bit more. And I just glance over at my reference photo a lot, see okay, how visible are each of these sections. Now you can see where I've gone over where some of the seeds are, and the seeds themselves just kind of, the areas with the seeds, they kind of pop out. Now by the time you're done layering, it may show them more or show them a little bit less, but you still know that they're there before you, before you scrub them all off. There's a part of me too when I teach in this way that thinks it's presumptuous of me to say, oh, this is how you do it or whatever else. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show how I do it or else. And then I remind myself that I painted it 6 times and they all came out okay. So I just need to trust myself a little bit more. So I'm creating a little bit of that red on the left side, but we're going to be switching that up because you can see in the direction of the picture, the seed directions change. I almost wonder, let's go ahead, let's bring this down a bit, and I want to make this just a little bit larger for you guys. Oh my gosh, everyone left and the door is shut and Paul is scratching at the door, but there is no way I'm letting him in right now because there is open paint. And he would be all over it. Okay, so we're just, again, reference your photo, see where the darker portions are. Some of these ones, when we start to go in the middle, the red goes around the back side of the seed too. So let's see, this one here. Okay, so just adding that red. I wanted to do this, I thought about maybe I should do one where, there's stuff that's you know, already done. Like when you do a cooking show and they're like, so this is how you mix it. But we already have one cooked. And I'm like, well, that doesn't seem very realistic. The idea is to paint it live with you guys. Okay. Cool. So let's see. And these ones are going to get lightened because they're more of an orangey color anyway, but we're just sort of marking them at the moment. Okay, so this one, it's also just going to have a little bit, because right about here is when we're going to start to come out of the kind of yellow spot that we have. All right. So I want enough on my paint that the paint is moving easily. If I feel like it's too dry or it's dragging, then that tells me that I need to clean my brush real quick, add a little bit more water, and go from there. Because again, we'll be defining things a little bit later. But as we get into these seeds that are more in the middle, we're going to be going for red. Trying to watch and pack up my bin tower. Where as we get to the middle, the red is going to go all around the seed, but then as we get to the left side, then all of the red is going to be more on the left or on the right side of the seed versus over here on the left side. So these ones are middle. Okay, and again, reference your picture if you really need to. Zoom all the way in, be like, okay, where is this sitting? But in general, the red is going to go on the left side of this. Then we're going to have the middle, and it's going to go around the seed. And then when you get to the right side, the red is going to be more on the right side of the divot. I was also thinking, like, maybe we should do like a hashtag if you're following along. But if you do this and you post it on social media or whatever, feel free to tag feel free to tag me, and we can see what the results are. That was always the fun thing when I taught the fluid art classes at a gallery I did for a little while. It was always fun to see the differences in everybody's, because, you know, with fluid art, everybody's is going to be different, but it was really interesting to watch. Okay, so let's see. So when we get to some of these ones over here, we're also getting some reflection. So like this one here isn't going to have quite as much red. So I'm going to shift over to this one. That'll be more to the left. Okay. This one is more around. We'll do a little bit around there. And again, even this one isn't going to turn out looking like any of the other 6 that I did. Bit there. A little more on the right. And if you guys have any questions in the interim, feel free to put them in chat. Sorry, I felt so good. I get in the zone when I paint, and so I tend to fall a little bit quiet, but we'll be a few more instructions once we move on to the next step. Okay. Put more there. Yeah, that masking fluid is really handy for the seeds, because then they're so small. Otherwise, then you've got to try and either make space or just add color on top, which works well for gouache, but for watercolor, it makes it just that more difficult. Okay, all right, so that's kind of the outline for all of our little seeds. I'm going to take a little sip break. Let's see, is that still? I'm just going to get a little bit of the heat gun, dry it just a bit. I'm pointing it away from my paints because I don't want my paints to dry. So I just do a quick like back and forth with it. Some of this stuff is still a little bit wet, but it should be fine. Okay, now if you wanted to like keep your paper from curling a little bit with the heat gun, you could tape it down, but I like to move my stuff around too much. Okay, so now we're gonna go into, keep in mind, especially if you're doing gouache and you have a, thanks Kara, you have a color that reactivates well, Some of this may shift, and it's going to shift a little bit now, but you're really just kind of mapping in your different sections. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try and get the base of the rest of our colors down. Okay, so we're going to grab that Spectrum Red again, and it actually needs to be a little bit more of an orangey color. So I'm going to, I wish I had my swatch sheet out because I want to give you the correct names when we do this. Okay, so Permanent Yellow Deep, that is what we're going to be using next. I should just get all these out so I have the names. Spectrum Red. Let's see. That one's the primary. I remember some of their names, but. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit of that Permanent Yellow Deep. Okay, not a ton. We don't need it too orangey, but we're going to bring it over here away from where we had that red. Let's just grab some there. Okay. And it's just, oh my gosh, you guys can't see. There we go. It's like I'm trying to find the balance between zooming out enough that you guys can see what I'm doing. So when I need like a setup like Sarah Renee Clark, where she's got her husband over there and like multiple camera views. There we go. Now you guys can see how I'm mixing and whatnot. And in fact, let's just close in that white just a bit. Have that off to the corner. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we've got this little bit of orange color. Again, this is really thinned. Obviously, you can see that when we get to the final product, it's not that thin. But we're going slowly and building up our colors because when it comes to paint, it's a lot easier to add more than it is to take away. I'm not spending a lot of time. I'm just doing kind of a quick little sweep across because you can completely paint out all of those other red spots that you just did. But my goal is just to kind of get our color blocking down. So we're just going to quickly run up the side. Okay. And that's good enough for there. So now what we want to do, my zinc white is a mess, but it's going to work just fine. So I'm actually going to grab a little bit of that zinc white. I'm going to bring it up here. Okay. And I'm not going to grab from this little pile that we have. Let's zoom out for a sec so you can see. Okay, so you can't see it, but there's white up there. So now I'm going to take just a little bit of the Spectrum Red. I do it on the side first, and then I bring it in so I don't accidentally do too much. And what we're going for now is we're laying down that kind of pink color that we have that you can see on the top of the column on the left. So that is what we're doing right now. That is our base color that we're getting down. Okay. So now we're going to take that pink. And again, we put that masking fluid so you don't have to stress too much about like making sure you're not going out of the lines or anything. Obviously you don't want to do too much because I only did like a 1/4 inch of liquid there. But you can already see how the strawberry is going to take shape because you have these varying colors. Now directly under this leaf, it's still pretty red. So we'll probably be doing a regular red up there when we get the rest of this on here. But now we want to do this little area. So we've got it a little bit yellow. So we're actually, just because we want it to be a light area that's just kind of mapped out, we're going to grab a little bit of the primary yellow. Not a ton. I've got it on there. I clean my brush so I can control how much I pick up. Hope you guys can see it. So I've got it here and it's just a little bit of that yellow. I haven't mixed any white. It's just really thinned out at the moment. Okay. Maybe a little too thinned out. And we'll get a little bit more. Okay. As you can see, some of that red is moving around, but it's okay because if you look at the picture, those areas, especially with the yellow, definitely are a bit more orangey. Okay. All right. So there's our little yellow section. Okay. Now I want to go ahead and dry it again. Again, I've got mine probably 5 or 6 inches away from it, and I don't just leave it on it. I move it back and forth so one side doesn't get too hot. I haven't tried to see if the masking fluid reacts with the heat, but I don't want to press my luck. I mean, you can see my hand is getting the heat on, so it's not so hot that it's burning me by any means. I just move it around a lot. You can use a blow dryer if you have it. I find that the heat from the heat gun really does a good job to dry it. So yeah, that's completely dry right now. So we're gonna go ahead and zoom back in now. All right, I'm gonna grab I'm going to grab our number 3 Da Vinci. It's a number 3 round. Okay, we're going to get a little bit of water. We're going to go in with that Spectrum red again. And again, you're just going for a warmer red of the two. So the primary red that I have, you can see it's here. In the camera, it may just look like a bright red, but the reality is this one is a much cooler red than this one. We'll be using this one a little bit, but not a ton. So we've got that primary or Spectrum red right there. Clean the brush. Once I smooth it out, we're going to get a little bit more, and now we're going to work on getting in a little bit more definition. Now, as we're doing this, we're going to start shaping a little bit, and if you can see, okay, so you've got a red little area here, right? The very edge of that strawberry has white, so we're going to keep that in mind. What surrounds these little areas, again, is that kind of pinkish color. So that's what we're going to kind of just vaguely start going in. Again, this is not hyper realistic, right? This is, I guess, semi-realistic because we are not matching the colors exactly to what they are. Thanks, Arun. So we're going to get that Spectrum red. It's only a little, it's only got a little bit of water in it to kind of water it down because we're building our stuff up slowly. Now I did make a slight mistake when I drew this. I drew this leaf as coming out all the way, and I can't really see it, but let's see if we lower it. Okay, so you see how I got this line that goes straight across? I really should have put a line here instead. So I'm gonna make up for that mistake with the paint. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm just gonna shape that because that area under it, if you look in the picture, is a darker red. So let's go ahead and zoom back out now. There we go. Okay, so that's what we're going to start to do. We're going to try to start to shape it. So this is when you're going to be looking at your reference photo a lot. So for this area, I know we've got more of the red that's here and it goes around. Same thing with here. That's going to be a good spot of red. And then we've got some of that white. So what we're going to do is, well, white, pink, whichever, is we are going to kind of start to shape some of this area. And this is when the definition of the strawberry is going to start to come in. Now this one does have a little bit of red here, but this is going to be more of that pink area. So let's see, are we in frame? And it's really bright. Hang on. Let's zoom in while we do this, because you know in these palettes I'm just using the Spectrum red right now. I haven't added any white. I haven't added anything like that. There we go. Okay, so now from that one, we're going to shape this a little bit more. Again, it's got the red in there, so we're going to just kind of follow that. And I thought about drawing all these lines on here, but I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to kind of make your own shapes. And honestly, once the paint starts to go down, you can't really see it all that well anyway, like the lines underneath. So again, this is going to be open for artistic interpretation. But essentially what you're doing is you're starting to shape that. Now keep in mind that when you look on the right side of the strawberry, I don't know if you can see here or not, it's darker on mine. You'll be able to see it on your reference photo, but you have this red here, and then you'll see that around it you're getting that lighter red, and it's the reflection from the paper that it's sitting on. But if you want to stop your really deep heavy red, stop it at that line right there. And that's about 1, 2, 3 seeds in is when you get that slightly lighter pink. I know, when you go from like, yeah, this is what we're going for. We're getting there. Trust, it's a process. There's a reason that this will take us a couple hours to do. Okay, so, and again, any artist that does painting professionally, they're going to all have their own ways to do it. So there is no right or wrong way to paint these. This is literally a tutorial of this is how I paint these. It's not necessarily the only way and the right way by any means. In fact, there could probably be some professional, like literally they do all of this for a living and be like, ma'am, what are you talking about? You're completely insane. I'm like, this is just what works for me. I'm sorry. Okay. So we're just kind of mapping in those spots. And it almost feels like a, you know, trust the process. We'll get there. Okay, this one here, it's pretty red around it. That's one thing I love about the gouache too, is its layering capability. Like, this is gonna look a lot different when it's all done, but I like being able to lay it on top of it. Okay, just getting a little bit more of that spectrum red. Right, so now, and even if you miss some of the lighter places, we're gonna be doing highlights on here with our whites. So even if you don't leave these spaces like as empty as they should be. Ah, thank you, Jeanette. Appreciate you. Yeah, we got a couple of gifts to open up at the end of stream. I'm super excited about them. I don't know what's in them yet, but Steve said they're good, so I'm gonna take his word for it. Like I said, I gave him the packages and said, I just need you to open them and check to make sure that, you know, everything's a-okay. He's like, okay. And then I was forbade from peeking. Okay. So I'm not, you can do lines if you want. I tend to do like dabs a lot when I'm painting. I don't know, I feel like I have more control over what I'm doing with it. Aw. You know, it's funny, like it always reminds me, did you ever watch, I loved the idea of it, obviously in the movie didn't turn out well, but you know, Shirley Temple's Little Princess, classic movie. I always loved that she gave her friends presents on her birthday. I mean, Miss Mitchum ended up ruining it for everyone anyway, but the idea is there and I like it. When packing your craft room, did you feel crazy on how much stuff can fit in small areas? Yes. Absolutely. I found packing the books the most satisfying, and the pencil cases, because they all lined up. But I definitely went through a lot of things when I was doing it, because I was just like, why do I have 3 of these? But yeah, there was something cathartic about it, to be sure. Okay. So you can see where those are starting to kind of take shape for it. All right, so let's see, 1, 2, yeah, right about here is when they start going into that pinker area. Okay, we still have quite a bit of red up here. And I know I've said it already, but again, it's not going to look exactly like the photo. That is not the purpose. We're putting our own artistic interpretation. We're using it as our reference, but there's nothing about it that has to be exactly the same as everything. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be a lot of pink over here. Let's bring this one up. Okay, we're going to come up here. We're going to get some of that pink here. I'm just calling it pink for lack of a better term, but it's where those white highlights are going to fall. Okay, let's get a little bit more of that spectrum red on there. Okay, and let's see, so that one, 1, 2, 3, yeah, this one is where we're going to get some more of that reddish color there. Let's add a little bit more there, because I don't want to lose these divots when we start adding more. That was one of the things when I was doing the practice ones, is I was losing track of where I was putting a lot of these. Okay, all right, that's good for that color for now. Now we're going to go back in and we're going to make that kind of pinkish color. Drinking my tea. All right, so let's get some of my zinc white. Let's zoom out again while we mix this. Okay, so we've got that spectrum red. We're going to come over here where we already had the white. Okay, clean the brush. We're going to get some of that spectrum. Need more white for that. And I'm using just the zinc white because we're only lightening the red. We'll use the permanent white for the highlights. So yeah, I'm kind of okay. So this pink that we've created, if we pull up our reference photo, oh, not that one, sorry. If we pull up, there we go, color palette. So it's not exact, but we've got that kind of light pinkish color. So that is what we're going for. Okay, grabbing the wrong thing. All right, so we got that kind of pink color, and we're still using the number 3. You could always switch to a smaller one right now if you're feeling more comfortable with it, but what we're gonna do, This one, we are using the size 3 at the moment. There you go. Great minds think alike, that's all. Okay, so like I said, for these ones, the heavier red is going to be on the right-hand side. So we're going to kind of work around that. So we're doing the pink. Right now, this is pretty light, but that's okay. That's what we want. Again, we're going to be layering more colors on top of this. I couldn't even tell you how many layers I ended up doing in the end, but, you know, enough. Okay. Oh, these are pretty light colored right now because we went over them, so we'll be darkening them up a bit. Again, you can look at your reference photo, see how far in the pink comes. Okay. And you can see it's starting to take shape a little bit. Okay, we're going to bring this pink over on the left side as well. Okay, clean my brush just a bit. All right, and again, feel free to check your reference photo and see where you match up with it. Okay, I'm going to bring some of the pink up there. Now this will get lighter, but for now, we're going to use the pink up here as well. Okay. Let's see, this is also light. Okay, there we go. 3 coats and I'm done. We'll try. Oh gosh, yeah, I can't even tell you how many layers I end up putting on these. I go until I'm happy with how it looks. But that's also why a single 4x4 strawberry can take me 2 or 3 hours. Okay, so now we're going to go in and do a little bit of our kind of yellowish color. So let's grab the permanent yellow deep. Okay, and we're going to put that up here with that yellow. Hang on. With that yellow that we already mixed. Okay. And let's see, let's add just a little bit. I'm going to grab some of the stuff, not the wet stuff. I'm going to grab some of the dry because it's only a little bit. Okay, that's getting closer. Let's grab some more of the permanent yellow deep. Okay, that's getting closer. We're going to grab a little bit of the primary yellow. Okay, clean my brush. I'm going to grab some of the zinc white, just a bit. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that color. So now let's go ahead, zoom on in. All right, so now we're just going to apply more of that. I'm kind of going around the red spots that we've already marked. Okay. There we go. So what would we say? Would we say that this is like layer 2? Like we did the you know, marking out the spots. So yeah, this would be probably layer 2 or 3. All right, so now I want to switch to my 0. Because we're going to be starting to get a little bit more detailed in areas. And I'm going to start that by going with the Spectrum Red. Okay. When I'm using these teeny tiny brushes, I find that if I'm too rough on them, in the sense they don't have enough, like if it's too dry and you're just kind of smashing them on your palette, that definitely shortens the life of them. So I try to make sure that there's plenty of liquid to you know, kind of protect it from just being mashed into the palette. So I wasn't mixing anything special. It was just literally Spectrum Red, and I was getting it to the consistency that I wanted it to be. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with a little bit more red to kind of mark the areas now that are going to be a little bit darker. So we've kind of mapped out where our colors are going to be, and now is when we start to add more detail. So you can see that we've got this spot right here where it's the darkest, and that's where we're going to start. There's not a ton of highlights there. There's a little bit of shape, but we're going to start with that, and it kind of comes right about here-ish. So you can see now how much darker that red is compared to everything else that we've dropped down. I'm also paying attention to around the seed, because this little section has a lot less highlight on it. And let's see, it goes till about this seed, okay? And then it runs to about here and here. So I sometimes mark off the area that I know I want to work with that. So it's gonna be kind of, this little section here is gonna be our darkest red. So that's where we go more of the less watered down, true spectrum red color. So again, I'm not too concerned about leaving the space. I do enough so I know where I want it to be, but we're gonna be going with that zinc white over the top. But this area here is just the deepest red of the whole berry. So that is where we're gonna go with. And I am, like I said, I've got my, I just keep my, my reference photo. I've got a little phone stand. Love these phone stands. I can link it later if you want, but love these. They're sturdy, they're not floppy, they're wonderful. In fact, actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'm just gonna grab it right now, because I use them all the time. I have like a few parked in different parts of the house, so I always have one. Let's see, phone, let's pull up the exact. Here it is. Yeah, fully adjustable. Yeah, I love it. It's like $9.99. It's perfect. There we go. There's the link to my phone stand. I actually got my dad one for one of the holidays. He really is. Public opinion / advice. Acrylic paint pens, toss, sell, or keep. Okay, not gonna lie. These ones, Artix sent me these. Sorry guys, we're taking a quick detour. Quick detour. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled painting. Give me a second. It's a nice thing about gouache is even if it dries, I can still work with it. These are the ones from Artix, Renee. I use them now with almost every page I do. I don't know what brands you have. They're also sending me some liquid ink ones, and I don't know how they differentiate between these and the other ones, but I have used this now on almost every page that I do. Like, no joke. So they live like right down here. They don't even have a spot on the shelf. So for me personally, again, I don't know which ones you have, but I use them all the time. You have the older Artix. Yeah, I use them a lot for covering covering lines when I'm coloring and whatnot. Okay, so we're gonna go back to our red here. Okay, like I said, we're just getting that richer red color where it's gonna be nice and deep. Let's see, comes down about here. It is consistently red here. Did they really, Shannon? The Artix ones? What didn't you like about them? Because I can't hardly put them down. I don't even bother putting the lid back on them. They're definitely hard if you want to, like, I think the video I did, like I was blending with them a little bit, but yeah, that's what I use them for, is for covering lines. Okay, I'll do a little bit more red up here. And then we're going to be bringing in some more warmer red. We're going to be adding some of that yellow to our reds that are going to branch out here. Okay, so we are going to grab some of that spectrum red. Let's zoom out so you can see it. Oh, which set did you have? Okay, so we're going to put that spectrum red right there. I'm separating them because we're doing a different kind of hue of it. All right, we're going to grab some of that permanent yellow deep. Okay. The crap one. Okay. I had the one Shannon had. Oh, see, I didn't realize that they had older ones. Yeah, no, I don't know how long the nibs will last, but before they knew what they were doing. Oh no. Oh gosh. Well, they do now. I love them. Okay, so here we go. All right, so I'm looking at the seeds here, and this one is going to have a little bit there, but the yellow comes to right about there. So we're going to branch out, and we're getting this kind of reddish orange down here. I'm not going to go too far up because this is going to be another pinkish area. Okay, got a little bit of the orange there. Oh, thanks, Kara. Oh, do they really? Okay, well now I'm curious. Who here has the Artix new paint pens, and what are your thoughts on them? Okay, that's gonna go there. These ones all have the color on the left. Water. Okay. Just don't want to lose these marks in the din of everything. Okay, we have more of that pink here, so we're going to bring some of that down. And once I went to use them again and they were dried out. Really? Well, maybe I'm lucky I got them after they figured out what they were doing, because yeah, that's why I said yes to the liquid ink ones, because I'm really curious how they'll compare. Okay, so now let's come over on this side. We're going to use more of that orange. We'll be adding more pink too here, but I want to get kind of that warmer undertone to it. Again, I know it looks like a hot mess right now, but this is definitely a trust the process situation. Oh, thanks, Josephine. So this orange won't show up completely. We're going to be adding that lighter pink color on top of it, but it's going to kind of, like I said, have that undertone to it. So these have there. And again, this isn't exact. Artistic interpretation is most definitely a thing. Okay. But that's also why it's nice to have these seeds marked out already. Otherwise, I would lose track of them, honestly. Okay. Well, I am really excited to show you guys what's going on with the quilt. If you were on my stories, it might still be up there. There was a little sneaky peek yesterday. Okay, let's see. Let's get some of this spectrum red. We want to get a little bit more. We're going to put it in our orange. Darken it up a little bit. I'll show you guys. So this was the orange we were working with. We just added a little bit more spectrum red to make it a more significant red orange. Oh no! Have you done any of the orange yet? So we did, after we did our second layer, we did the darker red. And then we grabbed our red orange and started filling in more of the orangey places. Now I added a little bit more red to it, and so we're just doing kind of a red orange. Oh, thanks. We're doing just sort of a red orange combination right now. I have to watch back now. Oh, it's okay. Okay. All right, so like I said, we added more of that red to it. So we're just adding a bit more. Okay. And so I'm just, for whatever reason, that area had a ton of red on it that I went a little bit heavy. So I'm just kind of smoothing those lines a bit. Okay. All right, so if you look closely at the yellowish part, you can see it almost looks a little bit grainy. So that's what we're gonna be kind of working on here. So we're gonna grab some of that lighter orange color. So this one here that we grabbed before, I know it's hard to see, but just trust, it's the lighter orange color. Oh, I'm doing it tonight. Not tonight. I'm doing it at the end of the stream. Yeah. So the Happy Mail is from Durban, and I'm so excited. Steve opened it, to make sure everything was as it should be, but I don't know what's in it yet, and I have it parked here. So at the end of stream, we're gonna do a big quilt announcement, and then we're gonna open a couple presents because I'm really excited. So no, not yet. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of that orange here. And we're just blending the edge. Yeah, I was just like, well, I need to save it for the birthday stream. That just seems fitting. So I'm just using a little bit of that orange, but also mostly water to kind of soften out the edge just a bit. Okay, I'm gonna clean the brush. Totally unrelated side note. Did you guys see that the, was it Spider-Man No Way Home or something, whatever it's called? The one with all the Spider-Men. It's on Disney Plus now. I watched it yesterday. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, sorry, totally unrelated. Okay. All right, so we just smoothed that out a little bit. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and grab some of the slightly lighter kind of red orange that we have up here. It's pretty wet. We don't need it super thick right now. And we are going to bring it up along this edge because we are just trying to shape this yellowish kind of area. This here's gonna be a little bit pinker, but that's okay to add that on there. Okay, now we're gonna grab some of that permanent yellow deep. It's not like a full yellow, it's like it's like an orangey one. It's this one. So that's what we're grabbing there, but it's a little bit more saturated. Got a little bitty hair in there. Okay, anyway, so that's what we're gonna use there. And I'm definitely doing little dabs. I just find I don't do strokes as much with gouache. I find that I just do little baby dabs. Okay. There we go. And it'll all kind of come together a bit more when we start shaping it a bit more. So because this is watercolor paper, you don't have to worry too much about it breaking down because it can usually handle quite a bit. However, as I'm doing this, I can see that the paper is buckling just a bit because I've been going over and over and over this. So what you can do, unless you have something you really need to mix right now, sometimes I will just pause for a second and just give it a quick dry. So if you don't dry it in between, again, watercolor paper is meant for this kind of paint. But I just tend to follow the rule with all of them, is I just play it safe. If I feel like it's buckling or changing too much, then I go ahead and dry it. Okay, so we've got that orange kind of mapped out. So what I want to do is I've got this very kind of watered down red right here, and we're just going to grab that. We don't need like a super deep red by any means, but we're just going to grab some of that, and I just want to do the edges a little bit. So some of these where we've got the inset for the seeds, I want to make sure that we're not losing that. Okay, but also I just want to add a little bit of red around the edge. We're still going to be adding more pink, so it's not like we're ruining that reflection by any means, but this is just how we layer up. So we're going to do a little bit there, a little bit there. Okay. Just redefining that. Okay, let's see. You know, honestly, Shannon, I'm the same way. I have a hard time following like when it's live. I can't remember. Melissa, was it you that we did that? I actually found that painting a while ago. Do you remember the lady that did the river with the birch trees and everything? Was that you that did that? We did that together? Or like we were both doing it? All right, we're gonna grab some of that watered down red. I'm actually gonna turn this upside down for a second. And you can see where my ink has bled a little bit, but I'm just gonna add that slight red line down the side. There we go. Okay, now we're back to right side up. Okay, so let's grab some more of that watered down red. And it's really nice because with that masking fluid on the side, I don't have to worry about going over lines. Like I'm definitely going on to the masking fluid a little bit, but it's not detrimental to the painting. There we go. There, you can see my paintbrush just whoop, did a little swipe. A little swoopity swipe. Okay, so let's do a little bit under here and refine this. So we're gonna get some of our stronger spectrum red. Okay, and actually we're gonna move it over to this side right here, and I wanna make it just a little bit warmer. So we're gonna grab some more of that permanent yellow deep. It's like Bob Ross. Like, I never color along with Bob Ross, but I definitely enjoyed watching his. Okay, here we go. All right, so we got a little bit of this slightly warmer red here. Okay, and we are gonna go straight up under these leaves. Okay. Along the side here. Okay, I'm gonna define some of these spots here. Let's see, this seed is a little bit here. And a little bit there. Okay. Yeah, let's get some more of that kind of red orange. Makes you think you can do what he does. Lies, all lies. Yeah, for sure. I'm watching and we'll paint on replay, being a mom and volunteer day multitasking. Yeah, I feel you on that one, Marilyn. Okay, so let's do a little bit to the right here. Just want to make sure I don't lose where that definition needs to go. Okay. And it'll really start to come together too when we remove this masking fluid from the seeds. Okay, so let's go ahead and go with now. I'm just going to use just straight up water. I'm not using any paint. And I'm actually, this is where whether or not you have paint that can reactivate will come into play. Because if your paint doesn't reactivate well, you may need to go a different route. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm softening the edges of where we placed the paint before. So I'm just using water. Once I feel like there's too much paint on my brush, I clean it off, dab just a little bit, and then keep going. And that one actually had a bit much water, so I'm seeing it puddle. I try to avoid the puddles if I can. Okay, clean, dab. Sorry, I should not have sniffed there. Again, getting over that cold. Hashtag mom life. Thank God, though, it's been a pretty short one. Like, little Steve had a fever for like a day, and that was it. Now, normal Steve and me, we didn't get a fever, but it's just that my throat hurts for a day. Fabulous. Okay. Just softening those edges. Yeah, there's a lot of like quick rinse, dab. If I find that I'm dragging too much paint along with it. Learn how to paint oil with Bob Ross. Oh, I love that. And maybe I need to put up that goal again. If we reach 100 members, I'll do a Bob Ross stream, which will mean so much more now, because when I did that before, I never had a face cam, and now I do. So we'll have to do the full Bob Ross effect. The costume and the wig and the whole thing. Okay, so I am moving it, but again, I'm trying not to lose where we defined those little divots in the strawberry. You know what would be a real challenge to paint, like something like a good practice in painting white, would be an egg. Painting an egg. Like you think like, oh, it's just round. I know, man, think about all the colors. I feel like an egg painting would translate really well with oil. You guys ever come across that account that just literally posts a picture of an egg every day? I haven't seen it in ages, but it had like thousands of followers. And it's just, literally the name of the account is like same egg every day or something. Hey man, whatever works. Oh my gosh, Steve came up with an idea. And those of you that read Romantasy would probably find this hilarious. But he said, what if you did an entire social media account where you read excerpts from books, say like A Court of Thorns and Roses, but read it in like just the voice of Patrick Starr? Oh my gosh. I let him find a few paragraphs in some of my books. It was so bad, guys. It was so bad, but I feel it's like one of those obscure things that would get millions of followers and like people would love it. Oh gosh, it was hilarious. Okay, so we're just softening all that. It's getting there, it's getting there. Tried to paint Bob Ross today, it did not look like someone, but it made me happy. Hey, that works, Connie. That's the whole thing. Happy little tree, happy little cloud. Absolutely. There's no mistakes, just happy little accidents. So usually when I take the masking fluid off is after I've finished the body of the strawberry and I have finished the leaves. And then once I take the masking fluid off, then I do touch-ups. Allison, hello, I am. It's good. Oh, that was too much water. I find that if I put too much water on the paintbrush, you kind of lose control of where your water is going. Yes, we are still going. We're on layer like, what is it, 4, 5, something. I don't know. And we still have our announcement about the quilt at the end, and we have some presents to open, and I'm going to show you guys progress. I know normally I do those announcements at the beginning, but in the event that there's someone here that isn't usually, or you know, they're watching it back or whatever, I wanted to save the us stuff for then. All right, let's zoom out for a minute now that we've kind of softened that. So now you can kind of see the strawberry taking shape to where it could get from this point to this point. But clearly we still have a lot to do. 32.5, you know, honestly, accurate. Grabbed the wrong one. Okay. So now we're going to go for our watered down Spectrum Red again. I mean, it's nice. We've really only used like 4 colors right so far. It's the Spectrum Red, oh, sorry, I hit the mic. The Permanent Yellow Deep, the Primary Yellow, and the Zinc White. That's all we've used so far. So we're going to grab our thinned out red. And we're going to bring this in a little bit. Okay, we've already softened it. Because we want it to be like subtle around it, you know? So like this area, I'm getting a little bit more red. Again, that's when your paint's ability to reactivate really comes in handy. Get a little bit more of that watered down red. I brought out my watercolors from 1970s, Grumbasher, Shiva, and guitar brands. I also have Prang set in 10. Nice! Dude, I love when you find that kind of hidden gems of art supplies like, oh, I didn't know I had that. Okay. So we can still see that kind of lighter shape around the seeds, but we're also defining it a little bit more. And that's why we're just using the watered down red, because I don't want that lightness to go away. We're going to be going over it a little bit with the white, but I don't want to lose that. And at this point, I'm not actually glancing at the picture too much. I will when we go to our highlights, but I'm just kind of going with the flow. Again, so that's why it's not going to be exact. That's why all 6 strawberries that I did were different, because there comes a point where I know where everything's at. And then again, I just, like I said, I kind of go with the flow, just sort of, I'm vibing with my berries, man. There we go. Okay. But this middle part, this is where the reddest part of the berry is going to be. Oh yeah, expensive. So if it came out in the 1970s, hang on, we're going to let it dry for a minute. Let's do, let's see, inflation calculator. Okay, so, yeah, they say from the 1930s to, okay, so in 1970, okay, a dollar, what do we say? $1.40. Okay, calculate. That same tube that was $1.40 would calculate as $11.91. So that is the equivalent of like the cost of these days. So yeah, that's cool. Honestly, I like looking up the inflation calculator on those. Okay. All right, so let's grab more of that watered down red. Again, that's just the Spectrum red. And we're just enhancing the brightness, that kind of saturation of the red in the middle. And it's not completely disappearing. Again, you can see how thin my red is here. This is all I'm grabbing from because I don't want that orange to disappear, but I want to soften it a little bit. Yeah, $1.70 for a tube. Yeah, that's definitely high quality. And the fact that it's still, you know, from 1970, but it's still, you know, it's quality. It hasn't like dried out or crumbled or whatever. Staggering to think what we paid for some stuff compared to today's money. I know, right? Like, we got on the topic of houses at one point, and we were asking my parents, because they didn't rent, they had a mortgage, which generally is going to be lower than rent anyway. But like, they only paid on their mortgage, and this was, you know, back in the 80s or whatever. Ooh, 11 tubes, nice. I wonder if you can, is that brand, like, do they still make that? I want to say they spent like $300 a month back in the 80s on this mortgage. And again, I know mortgages generally cost less than rent, but still, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. We were talking about groceries and like growing up as a family of four. Well, no, I guess we were a family of 6. I had 4 siblings and my parents, but their grocery budget each week was around $100. For our family of 4, for the kids, now in our defense, like we do get some name brand stuff, you know, like Capri Sun for the kids for the lunch, you know, we could go different routes. But I would say that we average, depending, like it's higher if it's a week where we need like paper towels or kitty litter or whatever else. So let's say it's a week where we need paper towels and kitty litter. It can close up to like $300 for groceries for a week. It's like, it's insane. And I'm like, for a family of 6, it was $100. What? Like, what is this madness? I don't even understand. My grandparents in Texas bought 40 acres and put a fancy top-of-the-line mobile home on the back in 1970, and the total for the land and trailer was $25,000. Monthly mortgage is 20 years was $800, right? Paid twice that for a studio apartment in Portland. Oh, in Portland, prices are rough. We were daydreaming about a job in Oregon, and I was pulling up, you know, homes for rent. Also, I forgot how not pet-friendly a lot of places in Oregon are. And I was just like, because, you know, in Texas, like houses are much more, I'm just using this watered down red again. I'm not doing anything significant. Like as it is, homes down here in general are a little bit cheaper. And I was looking at the price comparison for the Pacific Northwest, and I was just like, oh, that's... No, that's not what it used to be. I distinctly remember, there's a little bit of red under this leaf, so I'm going for that too. But when we initially moved to the valley, sorry, I'm looking back and forth at I'm looking back at the picture now because I want to get these divots correct. I remember when my parents were looking for a house, so this would have been back in 2000, either 99 or might have been 2000. Anyway, you know, early 2000s, late 90s. I remember when they were looking at houses, I'm talking about how like 300,000 in Oregon at the time was a good price for like what they were looking for budget wise for a house. And that just like always stuck with me because like, yeah, that is not the average. And that was just in, you know, early 2000s or whatever. Like it's gone up pretty significantly. Sorry, another tea sip. It's coming together though, right? It's getting there. All right, let's use a little bit of a stronger amount of, actually we're gonna use the, oh, absolutely, Allison. Yeah. Yeah, I could not imagine finding a place. I think when I was looking at houses for sale, the best price I could find one, I think was, and again, this is when I was just daydreaming for Oregon. It didn't pan out. It's not going to happen. We're not going to Oregon. But for a little while, you know, a girl can dream. The one that I found was like $480,000 85,000. And I was like, well, for, you know, 2026, that's probably pretty good. So I definitely had bookmarked that one on Zillow. I'm like, you know, just on the off chance it happens. Are you kidding me? My mother-in-law would be over the moon if we ended up back in Oregon somehow. Again, it's not happening, but again, a girl can dream. Because when I was looking at houses, I found one like down the street, like a 5-minute drive from where she's at. Oh, it would have been so cool. So I'm just using that kind of thinned out red orange, and I am just adding a little bit more here. Okay, so now what I want to do is, there you go. Hey, you know, it's possible. Yeah, no, it was a job that we were daydreaming about, but it didn't pan out. So, you know, there'll be other jobs. It'd be great though. Someday, right? Yeah, see, that's the other thing is it's different. Yeah. I mean, minimum wage hasn't changed in years, but yeah, there's definitely a difference. Like, I don't like those videos when people like approach the older generation at Lowe's and they're like, how much did you pay for your house? And they're like, $10,000. And like, $10,000. I'm like, look, if you're going to make those videos trying to make them feel bad about the prices, then you need to bring an inflation calculator with you and find out what $10,000 was then. I'm just using thinned out zinc white right now. We will make it brighter with the permanent white. But it's like, if you're going to make a big deal about the price, at least bring an inflation calculator with you. Like, things are more expensive. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's not in question. Actually, we're going to just start with the permanent white now because it's not quite as bright as I want it to be. But at the very least, you know, come informed. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so we're going to go ahead because this reflection on the top of the strawberry is pretty significantly bright. So I want to, people who just bought a house and tracked down the billionaires and make, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'll be curious to see what, how gas levels out. So right now I'm just using the permanent white and I'm kind of mapping in this reflection right here. And you can see there's a pretty sharp line between the reflection and the strawberries. So we're not going to soften it a ton. We'll soften it a bit, but not a ton. And I still want to add some of the primary red to it too. I want to add a little bit of a cooler red. So I just put some of that permanent white on the palette just to thin it out a little bit. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, so we're gonna, oop, that was too much. That was too much all at once. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So I just cleaned my brush and I'm just dabbing it to kind of thin it out a little bit. I don't know. See, I think about like sometimes when you have those painting tutorials on YouTube and the person is like, they're just like very gathered, very professional, everything they say, they don't go off on tangents, but I'm like, nah. I'm a little bit too derpy and quirky to not go off on squirrel adventures every now and then. So yes, while I'm teaching and explaining what I'm doing, we still chat. Okay, got a little bit more of that spectrum, or not spectrum, permanent white. And we're gonna start to shape this reflection here. So let's see, we're gonna go here, and again, I am looking at the reference photo while I'm doing this, just trying to kind of get the lines in the right place. Okay. Because this place does have quite a bit of reflection. Okay, and then this is right along the edge. And again, this is when that masking fluid comes in handy because you don't have to worry about accidentally having too wobbly of a line or whatever else. Okay, let's thin that out just a bit. Like, I never took any official classes on gouache. I've kind of just like if I can get it to look the way I want it to look with the way I'm doing it, then I'm happy. But I do wonder sometimes, like, if there would be a professional gouache artist that would like look at what I'm doing and they'd probably be like, why are you using so much water? Let me be myself. Besides, the acrylic markers go in the garage sale. If I need them in the future, it can be rebought with quality markers. Yeah, if they've changed that so much. So yeah, whenever those liquid ink ones come, I'll keep you posted. Because I am curious about how they work in comparison to the acrylic markers. Okay, so I am just working on enhancing this little highlight here, but it's thin enough. So yes, you can use white, but it's thin enough that, like I'm gonna be thinning it out just a little bit more, that it will look more pink by the time it's dried. Okay. So clean my brush. Oop, too much water. I try to dab it on the cloth every time I do water. Make sure there's not like a drop that's about to drip down the brush or anything. And I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. This is not going to look exactly like the picture. You're using artistic interpretation to make it work for you. Okay. These acrylic gel pens, I think they'll be more my go-to for line and so forth. They have a great thin nib. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so what I want to do before I go over to that white on this side, I actually want to grab a little bit of that primary red. I'll zoom out here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so the primary red here is our cooler red. And we're going to put it just up here a bit because we don't want to do a ton. Okay, you're going to get a little bit more. Okay, clean the brush one more time. Still stuff on that. There we go. Okay, so we're going to grab some of this red. We're not mixing it with anything yet. Okay, because obviously there's a lot more, like this is a much deeper red to it than what we're doing. So now I want to take that and we are going to enhance our red color just a bit. Okay, we're going to get some more of that. A little bit thicker on it, but again, even if you make lines you don't want, we can thin them out a bit. Okay. We'll still make sure that that reflection kind of stands out on it, but we don't want it to get too muddy. We want to make sure that we are still keeping that contrast. Put a little bit around the seed areas. Again, we're still going to be adding back in that reflection, but I just want to make sure we don't lose the saturation of the red of the strawberry. I want it to look like a ripe strawberry, not an unripe. Okay, but you see how that's just automatically bringing up that saturation of it. Granted, this is not going to be the full thing. I just got a clean brush now and I'm just kind of absorbing some of that water. Okay, because it is a very different red than what we've been doing. Like I said, it's a much cooler red. Okay. Let's bring a little bit of that up here. Again, it's just that primary red. So depending on what you're using, you're going to want to look for whatever you have for your cooler red. Okay. Here we go. All right, let's bring some of it up here. And keep in mind, what you're seeing on camera is not exactly what you see like in real life, because the camera doesn't ever translate it exactly. I could take a picture of it when we're done and post that. Okay, let's grab a little bit more of that primary red. Okay. And like I said, I don't know what time it is. What are we, 12:18? Yeah, we're going, because Shannon, no, I know Barbara was on this morning, but we're gonna go until the painting is done. I'm not gonna, this is a one-day special, so we go until it's done and then we wrap it up. Okay. But we've got that nice kind of warmer red undertone, which is why we're doing this red so thin, because I want that saturation of the strawberry, but it's definitely, its natural color is a much warmer color. Okay, so we're going to use some of that thinned out spectrum red a little bit. Okay, and we're going to bring that out here just a bit. Because with all these layers, they all kind of eventually blend together on their own to become a different kind of red. It's never the exact color that you put down because of the way everything blends. Okay. Ooh, that's really bright. The sun came out. There we go. That's a little bit better. Sip of water here. Okay. So I want to bring more of the primary red, that cooler red, over here a bit, because I do feel like when it dried is a little bit more orangey than I'd like. Okay, we're going to connect to those areas that are a little bit darker. Okay, it's getting there. Like I said, we still need to do the reflection on this left side, and we're going to touch up the reflection a little bit on the right side as well. In fact, this strawberry may end up being a little bit, like I said, none of these are going to look the same, but I think this one's going to end up looking a little bit of a cooler red just because of how I'm doing this one. But again, I switch it up every time, so none of them are going to look the same. All right, I'm going to grab a little bit of that yellow that we created up here. Okay, just a bit, because I want to add some over here. Okay. And again, I'm just doing kind of dotting because I want it to have that kind of textured yellow look to it. Okay. We have quite a bit of highlight over here, so we're going to grab some of that permanent white that we have on the palette already. Yeah, several layers, absolutely. Okay, and we're going to come down here because this is pretty strong. We're going to get some more of that white there. Okay, bring it up here because we got a pretty strong reflection. The light was coming from above in the picture, so get some more of that. We're just using the permanent white right now, and I'm not grabbing it at, you know, how it comes out of the tube. I'm definitely thinning it out a little bit to have a little bit more control about where this all falls. And because we've got all this color underneath, it's still keeping that color, because in the image you can see it's not just a bright white color, right? Okay, a little bit more of that permanent white. Let's see. It curves down here just a bit. Okay. Then we've got that reflection there. We've got a little bit there. So we're going to start adding in some of the curved reflections around the seeds. However, I don't want it to be stark, so we are going to smooth out the edges just a little bit. Very opaque. The Sharpie Creative ones are some of my favorites, but not a lot. Oh, for the acrylic gel pens. I have the old Artex acrylic markers with a brush tip but foam core. I was wondering if I would switch them out for better or completely for acrylic gel pens. I haven't tried the acrylic gel pens. What brand are you guys doing for the acrylic gel pens? Okay, so let's get some of that permanent. Okay, and let's see, this one definitely has a bit of a reflection. Again, we're going to be softening these just a little bit. Right there. There. Okay, so we're going to start putting in some of those shapes just a bit. We'll do some more stark highlights probably as our last step, because we're still kind of moving things around on here. Let's get a little bit of that watered down spectrum red. Fill it in a little bit there. Okay. Just a little bit. Okay. I want to go in with some of the darker area, and again, once we get the seeds and you see how dark the seeds are, it'll all kind of come together. But what we're going to do is we're going to finally grab something other than red or yellow, and I am actually going to grab some of the Van Dyke brown. So this one here for me, it's pretty dark. It's pretty dark, but we're not going to use much of it. So whatever kind of dark brown that you have, if you don't have a brown that dark, then you can just like add it slowly, maybe use like the tiniest bit of black. Okay, so I'm going to get that Van Dyke brown. Let's zoom out for a bit so you can see what we're mixing. So we got that Van Dyke brown there. Clean the brush. We're going to grab some of the Spectrum red. Gonna mix that in there. A little bit more brown. Okay. Let's add in some of the primary red. I'm getting closer. Let's get the brown again. There we go. So it's really kind of coming out like a black raspberry kind of color. Different than liquid acrylic. The gel pens are gel pens, not super acrylic, like they dry pretty matte. The liquid acrylic or paint pens are more like Posca. Ah, okay. Fabulous, you get the right ones. Ooh, good to know. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn mine because if I'm working like this, it's a lot easier than me going like this. And my key thing is I try to keep my wrist comfortable. So yes, I am upside down for a moment. But we're going to take that kind of almost black raspberry color that we created. And again, it's okay if you go out of the lines a little bit. And I'm adding just the smallest amount here where we're going to have some of that darkness. And we're going to bring it up here just a bit as well. Okay, let's see, let's bring it, we don't need to go too high up with it. So we got this little line here. Now I'm going to clean my brush and we're going to smooth it out just a bit. Because I want it to be subtle. I don't want it to be just this stark, sudden black line at the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to clean my brush and I'm going to smooth it out a little bit again. Again, I turned it. For me in particular, I find that making sure that my wrist is comfortable is much more conducive to getting, you know, the painting to come out the way that I want it to. Okay, so just a very soft little shadow there. Okay, now we obviously have still a lot of red to contend with when it comes to this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to work on a reflection on this side, and then we're going to add the red in the divots because we don't want to lose that detail. So let's grab our permanent white since that was working better, but we want to make sure it's pretty watered down and we'll thin it out if we need to. So again, I've got mine zoomed in pretty close because I like to see exactly where it's at, but of course we've got the reference photo over here. So I'm going to start to shape where these reflections are. Sorry, I know I'm getting quiet. I'm in focus mode. Okay, so I'm just looking at the picture and trying to follow where the lines go. It's kind of like a bit of a lattice network, you know? Okay, so that white is going right behind the edge of where that divot is. I'm gonna get it wet again, a little bit more watered down. Okay, so then I'm gonna do behind this one. It's a little bit too much. We'll add more later, but for now we want to go subtle to begin with. Okay, so we're gonna bring this here. Okay, and then this comes right over there. Let's get a little bit more. Okay. And then this one. This comes right up to the edge. And yes, we just did that brown. It's not getting rid of it, but the reflection kind of absorbs it a bit. The logo ones, the thinner ones are finicky and scratchy. Ah. Okay, so then this is, that was a bit much. The nice thing with gouache is if you go too much, you can kind of lift it. Okay, this actually is right there. We're gonna do some there. Okay, nice thin amount of white because then we also have, I'll go thinner. Okay, that there. This one comes right up here. I'm gonna grab some of that zinc white because the permanent white is coming through a little bit too bright. So let's see, this one, we're gonna bring this right behind. Okay, same thing here. Some of that white. And for this middle one, it actually has some white around it. Again, we're gonna smooth those out, so no worries. Okay, this comes up through here. This one, it's a little bit there. Okay. All right, it's coming together. When the reflections start getting put in place, it really kind of, it helps bring it together and you're like, okay, I can visualize the rest of this now. Okay, so let's see, this one has a little bit up top. Okay, and these reflections are going to change their location based on where they are on the berry. So the ones on the left side are going to have the reflection more on the right side of it. The ones in the middle are going to be more like completely around it, and the ones on the right will go right behind it, just like so. Okay. So this one will also have that. Okay, there's going to be a little bit of red there, so we'll make sure we'll put that back in too so we don't lose it. Okay. Get that white again. Let's see, this one has a little bit up here. Same with here. Okay. These ones have some of that reflection here. And if you photograph this on, say, like a dark background, it's not going to have these same reflections. This white that we're putting in right now, it's reflecting the piece of paper that I had underneath of it. If you have a picture of it on just like a white plate, like I said, which is what I had initially, that white reflection is going to be that much stronger. So it really just depends on how and where it was photographed. Okay. Now that we've added the white too, you can see just how much more like pink is coming out. So we're actually going to be layering a little bit of the warmer red on top of where that pink is at, because we don't want it to come out like a pink, a very pink one, but we're going to grab some thinned out of the spectrum red. Okay. And sometimes you have to do that. Like once it dries, you get a better idea of what's going on with your, like, okay, well, this needs a little bit on top. And that's one of the reasons that I love gouache, because it allows you the flexibility to do that. Because I'm not adding very much paint, but it's sort of blending in with what was behind it. It's actually kind of perfect, because this I wanted to tone down just a bit, not a lot. And again, this will pop more too once we take the masking fluid off the seeds, and then we have the color variations on the seeds as well. It'll all kind of come together a little bit more. So now we're going to smooth out these white lines just a bit, because it's a subtle reflection. It's not bright, because these aren't really even the highlights. The highlights, what you're looking for, is where the light reflects like water, like the moisture on the strawberry. That had too much water. Okay. All right. See, we want that subtle reflection. Okay, hang on, I'm gonna get a drink of water. And because of that white, the reds in the divot, they stand out a little bit more. So we're going to refine a few more things in the strawberry. And the strawberry is not done, but we won't be able to finish it until we take all of the masking fluid off. Sorry, getting over a cold. My voice isn't doing what it needs to. Okay, so there's a little bit of an indent on the strawberry here. We're going to make it just a touch darker, just a bit. Because sometimes when I'm looking at it, like I won't notice things about the strawberry until it's like, oh, wait, I've already got those colors, but wait, it's got this kind of reflection on it. Okay, so let's see, we're gonna get some of that straight up spectrum red. All right, and I want to reinforce where some of this red goes on the seed. So I'm very careful. I'm just using the pointiest part of my paintbrush, and I am just enhancing that divot in the strawberry, because I don't want to lose that, because that helps just add the shape and definition to it. And again, right now it looks bright white, so it's like the seeds look funky. But once we take the masking fluid off and we start adding in the color, it will all come together. So I'm just using that straight up spectrum red. Okay. And the shapes that will come out of this when it's done, like the shapes of the seeds, we're going to refine those too, because since we put the masking fluid, it kind of just is sort of globby, you know, there's no real definition to the shape. And it's very tiny. That's where the small brushes come in hand. Like we haven't even picked up our 03 brush. We may not even end up using that. But I put it on there anyway because there were a couple times that I did, in fact, use it. Okay, I want to grab just a little bit of this black raspberry that we made. And I want to make that just a little bit darker. Just a little bit, because I don't want to lose that. Okay, let's see. Put my picture over. Yeah, just a touch. Not a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna lift just some of it. Again, that's one of the reasons I love gouache over like acrylic, because I can make so many adjustments as I go along, you know? Okay, so we're gonna leave this for now because the rest of the details are gonna come after we remove the masking fluid. So we're gonna go up, we're gonna work under the leaves for just a minute, and then we're gonna do the leaves. When we're done with the leaves, that's when we'll remove the fluid, remove the fluid, and then we will put on some finishing touches. Where are we at now? 12:35, 2.5 hours. It's not too bad. I mean, we still got a ways to go. Okay, so if you look under the leaves, okay, you'll see that there is this reflection of the leaf where it's kind of this brown and, oh, thank you. It's kind of where this brown and green is. And I think that's where I drew when I was making the line art, but we're gonna make that the shadow. And we wanna do the shadows before we do the leaves because it's gonna go on top of it. So we're gonna add in a couple more colors. All right, so we're going to grab, let's see, it's like an ochre color, but what's the name of that one? Let's see, that's the yellow. Who am I kidding? I wrote it down in here. Okay, so it is the, did I not put in here? I must have not used it when I did it the first time around. Hang on, I want to get you guys the right color name. Oh, yellow ochre. I was right. It's like an ochre color. So yeah, yellow ochre. We're going to use a little bit of that. We're going to use a little bit of the burnt sienna, and this is where we're going to start to come into our greens, right? So we're going to get kind of that really light kind of green brown color. So that is what we're going to work on next. Let's make this a little bit brighter. There we go. Okay, so let's move this here so you can kind of see what I'm blending here. So I'm going to start with the yellow ochre. Okay. I've got like a little bit of white here, so we may mix it in with that. And then we're going to grab a little bit of the oxide of chromium. Okay. Let's grab a little bit of the sienna brown. Okay, getting closer. We're going to bring in some of this white that I've got right here. And that's a good starting color for us. Okay, so we're going to go underneath this leaf. Because this right here, this is just the reflection from the leaves. Okay, so we've got that little bit of reflection there. And again, I'm zooming in on the photo I have, so feel free to, you know, look closely at your reference photo. Okay, we've got a little bit of that there. Let's grab a little bit more of that sienna brown. Okay, just a little bit of it. Actually, it's pretty, you know what we need to do? We need to lighten it a little bit, actually. Let's grab a little bit of the zinc white. Okay, just a bit. Right now our brown is being too influenced by the red. We want to give it that little bit of, oh, thanks, Barbara. Well, like I said, stick around to the end. We have, Durbin sent me some, a couple birthday gifts. So we're going to open those at the end, and I'm going to show you guys a big update for the quilt, which I think is really cool. Okay, so let's get a little bit of that oxide of chromium now too, which I'm really excited. They've been staring at me for a little while. All right, we're gonna grab just some of that linden green. There we go, get us that nice kind of, that would help if you could see it. So that was the oxide of chromium, a little bit of that linden green to get a bright one. It depends. It depends. So right now, this is still a little bit wet and it will mix it, but it just kind of depends on how long you linger. Once they dry, you get a little bit more of like a true image of what the color is going to look like. But it does reactivate, but it also, because it's gouache, it layers on top one another. So a lot of times if I feel like my colors, like the red was coming through a bit much, so I went the complete opposite of the red, which is obviously the green, which works out well because we're doing the leaves anyway, but it's helping to stand on top of it. So it really just depends on how long you saturate it, and then once it dries, how much it blends in with it. So over here, I want to get some of that green color. I'm going to take that previous green color we made and the brighter green color, and I actually want to mix them both to get us that kind of slightly tinted color. And we're going to put that over here. Let's see, are we zoomed in? Yes. We're going to put that under this leaf here because there is a little bit of reflection of the green. Not a ton, but there is some. And we're actually going to be putting a bit more zinc white on this because if you look at the picture, that particular part of the strawberry is very white. So we're going to grab some of that zinc white. I'm actually going to dab it on the palette because I don't want a ton. And we are going to lay that over the top of it. And we still have our significant highlights to go. We're going to be using the permanent white to do that. But for now, the zinc white is great for just showing those slight reflections in it. It may not look like much now, but once everything is down and together, that's when it really makes the difference. So I'm just using that zinc white and I'm bringing down that highlight because if you look at the reference photo again, it's definitely more of that peachy tone. And again, when we do the permanent white, it will stand out more. Okay. All right. And then underneath this leaf here, let's grab a little bit of that red orange that we did before. Maybe a little bit of that black raspberry that we made. And I am just going to very carefully, because we don't need much. It's not a huge change. We're going to just put a little bit of that there. Then I'm going to smooth it out just a little bit. Like I said, it's not a significant shadow underneath. We do have some here. We're going to grab a little bit of that black raspberry that we made. That's not the official name of it. That's just what I'm calling it because that's what it looked like. We're going to put a little bit under that leaf. Obviously that's pretty dark. We want to thin that out just a bit. Okay, so that right there, this is the body of the strawberry before we add everything else. Obviously it does not look like this yet. Making the seeds and adding them will make a considerable difference. And then of course we'll have our highlights and everything, but what we need to do next is the leaves. Hang on, I'm gonna mute for just a second. And again, keep in mind, oh, hang on one second. Sorry, if you missed it, I'm getting over a cold. This does not look as dark as this is because this is a straight up digital image. We're getting reflection from the light to the side, so trust that this is actually pretty dark. So we're gonna go ahead and do the leaves now. Okay, so we're going to grab some of that linden green. Okay. I'll bring my palette down here so we can mix together. All right, linden green here. Okay, we're going to grab our oxide of chromium because it's definitely a warm color for the leaves. Okay, we're just going to add some of our straight up primary yellow. Okay, that's pretty close. That's pretty close. And so what we're going to do is we're going to grab kind of a thinned out version of this. And this is why watercolor still works for that, because I thin out the paints enough that it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so we are going to just fill in this space firstly. Okay. Now on the line drawing, I did draw all the little veins, but once I started painting it, like on the veins on the leaves, I realized that like it was just too much fine detail to try and do, like unless I've got an amazing detail brush. So I'm kind of ignoring the veined lines. You can add them if you want. Okay, so we're just going to fill this in. This part of the leaf is pretty light colored. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab that green that we're doing for the others, and I'm just going to add it to this part of the leaf for now, because that is more green. Okay. Oh, I accidentally brought in some of the darker stuff here. So we're gonna thin that out just a little bit. Okay, we're gonna grab our light green again, and we are going to apply it to these ones. Okay. Move some of that. Okay, and then we're going to do the same to this one. Don't worry, these are going to get much darker. Okay, I'm going to do this leaf in the back here. Make sure I don't have my hand in paint because they've definitely done that. Okay, and we'll add a really light one to this leaf here. Okay. A little bit more there. All right, now I'm going to do a quick dry because I want this to be the undercolor for the leaves. So I'm going to dry that real quick. Again, I'm moving it around because I don't know if the masking fluid will actually like bubble up with it or anything. Okay, that's perfect. So now we're going to go in with the oxide of chromium. Okay, and that's that kind of warmer green color. And let's just, I'm going to put it up here in this corner because I'm running out of clear palette space and I don't really want to add that to it. But I do want to grab some of the yellow ochre, just a little bit, and mix that in with it. Okay, we're going to grab a little bit more of the oxide chromium. I'm going to grab a little bit of the linden green. And yeah, I like where that's at. Okay. So now we're going to do, because the base of the leaves are the lightest part. So make sure I don't have any water drops on the ferrule there. All right. So we are just going to, again, you are welcome to add like the little details of the veins and everything. I was just like, that's too much detail for this. So we are just kind of, like I said, putting our own artistic interpretation on these leaves. So I'm going to blend that in with the light green we did. Okay, there we go. We're going to grab more of that, and we are going to, let's see, the top parts are always the darkest. Okay. Go. A little bit more. This back part is pretty much all the same green, so we're just going to fill that in. Now I am coloring spaces right next to each other, so I'll probably dry it before I do this leaf on the bottom because I don't want it to bleed into it. So then we're going to grab this. Hang on 1 second, chat. Okay, sorry about that. Little Steve was apparently dancing the jig out there. I was like, what is that noise? Okay, so I'm just going to do these. Just grabbing that green that we made. Okay. And that actually dried just in that time. So we're going to grab a little bit of that green and we're just going to go kind of on there. Okay, now obviously this isn't where it needs to be yet to match up with that, but that's because we need to add a little bit more green. So we're just going to grab the straight oxide of chromium. Okay. A little bit up there. We're going to clean our brush. You let him dance. all I just heard was like, I couldn't tell if it was a washer off balance because our washer is upstairs too, or if it was him. And I go out there and oh yeah, he's feeling great. I'm telling you, like he was sick for a day and then he was fine. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad it didn't last long. That's cool. But he's getting to do screens right now because sister is off playing at a friend's house since the park thing they were doing was literally washed out. Okay, so now we're gonna grab a little bit of that oxide of chromium and we're going to add a little bit of that definition there. Okay. Smooth it out just a bit. Okay. Then we're gonna grab the oxide again. Clean my brush. Make sure there's no water. Okay, and then we're gonna, this one is a little bit darker than the others, so that's what we're gonna do for this one. Yeah, honestly, I'll take it. Like, this was the shortest we were all sick, and I was like, heck yeah, man. Okay. Wait, dogs, I got 3, right? That's fair. No, honestly, you're good. I got you. All right, so oxide chromium, and then we are going to do this one. So we're just getting that darker green on top, and then that's when it comes in handy when you've put your masking fluid down, because it's not going anywhere else. Okay. Gonna smooth that out just a bit. Okay, let's go do these over here. Get some of that oxide. Do that one there. Okay, just smoothing that out. I want to add a little bit more to this large leaf up here. Like I said, sometimes when it dries, it changes the way I want it to look a little bit. And I definitely want it a bit darker. Okay. All right, let's grab that again. Let's get this a little bit darker. And we're gonna get a little bit this one. We're gonna do this leaf over here. Honestly, the leaves are probably the least detailed of the entire thing. Melissa, did you send me a photo? Is it of your progress or is it of a meme or something? Okay. Go. Okay, for this leaf, I want to get a little bit of the permanent white. Okay. And you're just going to define this a little bit. Sorry, I know I'm shifting it. If I accidentally go out of frame, let me know. Okay. Let's see. Progress. Okay. Let me see real quick. Hey, that looks great though. Can I show it? I've got my finger like paused on it. I'll wait till you say okay. You've got the shaping for the highlights around the seats. Great, that's wonderful. Oh, you have a lag. Oh, no worries. Yeah, show it. She don't care. That looks great. That's a fabulous start. You saw how mine looked at the beginning. That's great. You're getting all of the little shapings for the highlights and everything. It's fabulous. Okay. Right? It looks great. All right, so I want to add a little bit more of the red orange here. Well, I mean, you talk to her frequently too, so you know, let's roll with it. Okay, so we're gonna get some of that red orange here because I don't want to lose that. Okay. So we're just gonna blend. Just whenever you guys do it, like trust the process. It's like every piece of artwork has that stage where you question, like, or what just happened here? But just keep rolling with it. I mean, you guys saw how this one grew. Okay, so I keep looking at your picture. I'm like, wait, that's not my photo reference. Okay, so we still have highlights to place and everything, but now what we're gonna do is we're gonna dry this and we are going to, we don't care, we're buds, there you go. We're gonna remove all of the masking fluid, but I wanna make sure that this is dry because we're about to rub our finger on it, and the last thing I wanna do is smear it. See, now you can tell how we went from here to here. But again, this is why it's really easy to spend 3 hours on one strawberry. I mean, what defines that though? Because like, I never finished college. I don't know if that matters or not. I have sold stuff, so that's something. With watercolors, I'd be scared to overwork it. No, same, because watercolors don't layer. Oh, sorry, I just hit the mic. They don't layer over one another like gouache does. And so that's why on this one, yeah, this is the Winsor Newton Cotman one. I definitely lost definition over here because I was worried about messing with it too much. So that's what happened there, because you can see in these other ones, it's a little bit different. This was the student grade gouache, and then, yeah, that was the designer, and this one, the liquid watercolors, that was this one, worked just fine, but that's because it was much thicker. But yeah, this was the regular watercolor one. Also, I'm totally putting these up in a frame, like when we're all done. I thought about getting like a bunch of individual 4x4 frames and like staggering them across the wall. I do have one full frame, but I feel like I need to put like some red paper on the background. Okay, so before I do that, I'm gonna give everything, since that's what I worked on last. I don't want it to be damp like at all. We're gonna give it just a little bit more dry. The green doesn't feel complete. Because especially with the Winsor Newton student grade one, the pigment shifted a bit. So we're gonna take off the border on the outside too. So I'm gonna make sure my hands are clean, because again, I don't, not this finger, but this one's clean. And we are just going to very carefully start to peel that up. And you can see, can you? It'd be great. Thanks. There we go. It starts to roll up. You see that little piece? That's the masking fluid. Here, maybe I can turn it so you guys can see it more. Hang on. Okay. There you go. You see that kind of little bit of color, and you see where it's coming up here. So that is what we're doing now. Okay, so we're just gonna very carefully peel that up. It's like when you were a kid and you used to cover your hand in Elmer's glue and then peel it up. That's basically what this is. And like I said, once you have it down and it's dried, it doesn't have a scent. It's just when it's active in the bottle that it's got a little sting to it. See, I went over a little bit, so we'll need to touch up on that spot. So if there's any mistakes with the masking fluid too, that's when we touch that up. There's something oddly satisfying too about removing it all. Okay. See, it went over just a little bit there, but it's okay. Make sure I'm still good. I don't have any. Okay, so now this is when we do the inside. Now, I am pressing harder, but I'm trying to be a little bit more careful. You could always take like your nail a little bit so you're not rubbing the whole thing. But I'm just gently, I don't want to press too hard and smear it, so I'm just very gently. If you don't have a nail, you know, you can still rub it. It's got that rubbery feeling on top, so it's supposed to just come off. You can see areas where the paint sealed over it, like you might miss those, or maybe they won't feel quite as rubbery because they've got a layer of paint over the top of them. Okay, and this is also where we'll kind of refine our seed shape a little bit, because obviously it's not perfect. And rather than wipe it away, where is my, I literally just cleaned. There it is. A strawberry quilt frame, that could be cute. Okay. Actually, you know, it's funny. I have some fabric patterns still up on Spoonflower that sell every now and then, because it's not anything I actively do. Like once a year, I'll be like, you made $5. But if I was still making fabric patterns, having all these different strawberries that are just slightly different would actually make really good fabric. Yeah, see, you can just use your finger, but these are so covered with paint and they're so individual and small. I'd rather just kind of gently scrape them away. Not there? No, there wasn't. But yeah, there's definitely something very satisfying about this stage. Okay, did we get them all? I think we got them all. Sorry, I was rubbing on my water bottle. So now I'm just gonna feel if I feel any more. Oh, there's one right there. Missed that one. Yeah, I don't feel any more texture. We got all those. Okay, so now we've got all of those open. So what we're gonna do first, I'm gonna take a sip of water first. All right, so what we're gonna go ahead and do first is we are gonna be creating, because again, if you look at our reference photo for the color palette, you can see that with the seeds, they're anywhere from like a yellow to an olive green. We've got the dark brown. Like there are a lot of different options here. So what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be doing the base color. We're going to do the seed first, and then we'll close in the red around it to refine the shapes of the seeds a bit. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to slide this down so you guys can see. Okay, is we are going to get some of the yellow ochre. Okay. Some of the yellow ochre, and then we're going to get some of that linden green. And again, if you don't have the linden green, you can just do regular green. And I got a splash, but that was just a little rubber thing. Anyway, you could do regular green and some yellow. We're just going for that kind of, I don't even know what you'd name it. You're gonna have to come up with a name for this color. Let's see, I do want it darker. Let's grab a little bit of the Van Dyke brown. Yeah, that's getting closer. Let's grab just a touch of the oxide chromium. Okay. Clean the brush. There we go. Okay, I think that's a good base color. Maybe just a little bit more the yellow ochre. There we go. Okay, so that's a good kind of brown color for the base. All right, are we zoomed in? There we go. So now what we're going to do is in all these places where it's white, we're going to put that one color. That's our base color. Some of these will end up being a little bit lighter. Some will be a little bit darker. So we're just going, I'm not worried about filling it in completely because we're going to be closing this red around these seeds a little bit. Okay, so we're just using that color that we made. And we are filling in all of the spots. Okay, we're going to be bringing that red in again, like I said, to help with the shape of the seed. But we're not doing a straight yellow, we're not doing a straight brown or green. We're kind of doing a mix of the two of our base colors because some of these seeds are pretty light, some are pretty dark, and like I said, when it comes to paint, it's a lot easier to add than it is to take away. Now, granted, with gouache, there's a lot of forgiveness because the way you can layer it. But for our base starter color, I want to do just this color. Because if anybody's doing watercolor too, this same technique that I'm doing right now will translate well to that. So we're just filling in all the spots. And once you start seeing these spots not being much of backstopping a lot. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, when we get a lot of our color variation on, that'll help with the dimension as well. But we are in the final hurdle. What is it, 103? I think I could safely say we'll be done by 2 o'clock. That's 1:03 my time, whatever it is. An hour from now, because we're still going to show stuff. So that's like the end of stream. I think we could probably finish this strawberry in about 30 minutes or so. But again, that's why those little paintings take me a while, because this is what I'm doing. Is I'm getting down to the nitty-gritty and really just spending a lot of time on all of the teeny tiny details. There we go. Okay, so that's all filled in with that color. We're gonna give this a quick dry, because I don't want, if I'm using a darker color on top, I don't want it to bleed and go where I don't want it to. So if you're planning on layering color on top of another color, it's always good to dry in between. And then we'll need to fix that spot up there as well. But we'll get there, we'll get there. Probably a little bit of a pink would be good. And we still have to place all of our highlights too. So we're gonna do seeds, then we're gonna fix and touch up some spots, and then the highlights will be the last thing we do. Okay. Paper's curling just a bit, but again, you could tape it down, but I don't feel like it. You see how often I spin it. Okay, so let's see. We are, actually, was I just using? I think I was actually just using the 3s, was I? No, we're gonna use the 0. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we are going to grab some of that Van Dyke brown, and we're gonna do our darker seeds first, okay? So I'm not mixing with anything else. I'm just gonna pop it right here so I can thin it out as needed, but that is the Van Dyke brown, okay? So let's see, our darkest ones are gonna be kind of in this area. We got a couple ones. There's also these teeny tiny little hairs on the seeds, or I don't know, you call them hairs, but you could add those if you wanted to. Okay, so this one, are we zoomed in all the way? Yes, okay. So for this one, we are going to add just the smallest amount of the Van Dyke brown, okay? And we're gonna do that to all of these seeds that we want to be darker. So like these ones, let's see, this one here definitely has a little bit of that. Okay, we've got a little bit here. Some of these have more brown on them than others. Like this one here has a bit more, so we're going to very carefully, and this is why I want the thinned out, because it's not like being too overbearing. Okay, a little bit there, a little bit there, because that went over, that's going to get red on it. Okay, a little bit there. That one definitely. Get some here, just get a little bit more. Like I said, it's very thinned out. Very thinned out. Okay. And then that actually shouldn't be there. We're gonna go with that with red. I think I added where there wasn't a dark, like where there wasn't a seed. So that'll get gone over with red. Okay. So we're doing our darker colors first. Get a little bit more of that brown. Okay. Some of these have like the darker kind of color, like a shadow all around them. Okay, and again, we're going to be bringing in red too. But it definitely happens in stages. Like once you cover a space with paint, it's not like, okay, cool, done with this one forever. No, you end up revisiting it a lot before you're done with it. Now, if you don't have the Van Dyke brown, you could do this with black, but you would just need to make sure that you're thinning it out, because a little bit of black goes a long, long way. Okay, there. Okay, and remember, some of these ones in the middle, they're going to look like they have the darkness all around them versus just on one side or the other. Okay. Let's grab some more of that brown. Let's see. Do some here. There we go. Sorry, I get quieter when I'm doing the concentrate portion. All right, let's see. I'm also like looking at the reference photo, looking back, trying to see how dark one seed is or the other. Okay. All right. Because a lot of these other ones are going to be lighter, so we're only going to add a little bit of the brown. Okay, just a bit. Because again, we're going to be coming in with our red again. Okay, just got a couple more. Okay. Some of these are like, I didn't bother with the masking fluid because the seeds were so small, you couldn't really see them. So I'm just adding small little brown dots where there was maybe a seed that we missed. Okay, so now I'm gonna dry it again. Because again, we're gonna be adding that red back now, and I wanna make sure that it doesn't bleed in with the seeds. It dries pretty quick because we're putting such thin layers, but it's definitely just to make sure everything stays where it needs to. So we're gonna grab some of that Spectrum Red. Okay, nothing else, just the red. It's so funny that there have been times where I've been doing little details like this, and because I can zoom in on my phone, my instinct sometimes is to try and zoom in on the painting. I need that for my eyes, man. Okay, so we have just regular Spectrum Red. Okay. And we want to add in, because it's there, but it's not quite as strong as I would like it to be. So we're going to add in some of that strong red. Okay, it's a little bit bigger. Man, the wind is really blowing out there. For whatever reason, the stream drops. It's because of the weather. Okay, Spectrum Red. So we're going to go here. Get some there. There. But this is why having those spaces defined is really handy, because then you can go back in and adjust it later once you have the majority of your color down. Okay, let's do this one. And we still have more highlights to do as well, but like I said, this is why these paintings that I do, the little ones, I think the max I've done in a day, if like I dedicate the whole day just to doing these, I think is 3, but like maybe I don't finish the third one. Okay, this one has red all around it. Let's get a little bit more of that Spectrum Red. Just want to make sure we have plenty of paint here. Okay. So let's see, these ones are when it starts to go left a bit, so we're gonna make sure we're adding that. Okay. Go around. There. Okay. Now let's see, for this side, let's add a little bit more as well. Let's see, that one goes all the way around. Okay. And again, not one of these are going to look the same at all. Okay, this one, that's red that comes on the outside. Okay. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna go in, let's fix this spot up here. We're actually gonna grab a little of that really watered down kind of orange. This one here that we mixed, okay? And I'm just going to fill in that space because that was kind of filled in with the masking fluid. Let's zoom back in so you can see what we're doing. Okay, let's grab a little bit of that lighter green that we already had mixed up. We're gonna mix that with it because this whole area up here is pretty light, right? Okay, so now we're gonna do, we're getting there. We're closing in. We're closing in on it. I want to get a little bit more of that spectrum red, and I want to define this area under the leaf because it's getting a little muddy. Once it dries, you may notice that, and that's when it's okay to go back and be like, okay, we need to make a few adjustments here and there. Directly under here. We still got that reflection there, so that is still there. But that, when you're doing something this little and you're going over things over and over, that's the biggest thing, is you want to make sure that you are not losing your contrast, your definition. That's what's going to help it stand out, are these little bits. Okay, so let's see, this one here, it definitely went down. And this also. Hang on, I need to mute for a second. And again, the one on the video looks so much darker. So just, obviously it's not exact, but it just doesn't translate well through the camera. Which I suppose doesn't bode well when you're trying to teach this is how you paint something. Okay, so I'm grabbing a little bit of that zinc white, and we are just going to define some of these reflections. No big highlights or anything yet. We're just trying to make sure that we have our, lights and lows and all that stuff. Okay, let's see. This one has a little bit here. Same with that one. Okay, let's get some more of that zinc white. Okay. A little bit there. Let's see, this one has a little bit there. Oh, I forgot I was going to go over that one seed with red because it was not looking where it's supposed to be. Ta-da! And it's gone. Okay, get some more of that zinc. All right, this bottom one here has a little bit of white there. Okay, that one's got that around. That one's okay, because these are all just like little subtle reflections, right? All right, so now we're going to dry it again. I want to make sure that nothing is wet when we go forward with our highlights. It's almost done, guys. I think it's almost done. Okay, so now, make sure. Sometimes, so if I don't want to smear it and I'm checking to see if it's wet still, I'll just gently press my hand on it. Because I'm not smearing it, I'm just setting it there to see if it's still wet. All right, we're gonna turn this because I'm gonna grab the permanent white. That's what we're gonna be using now. Okay. And this is what I use for a lot of highlights. Okay. I'm gonna thin it out just a bit because I don't wanna go in too strong, but now we're gonna start placing where the really bright parts are. So I need more water on that. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go up here, okay? And if these come out too stark white, I usually thin them out as well. So we're gonna get them all placed and then we'll thin out where we need to thin out. This most definitely has a lot of bright to it. Okay, and this side here, we're gonna smooth this out as well. But right now we're just placing all of those big highlights. Okay, this one for sure has a little bit. I'm just doing little dots because if you look at it, it's not like a solid white line by any means. This one has a little bit more of a solid line. Okay, this one has a little bit. And again, it's tiny too, so sometimes doing these tiny details is rough. So if you slip or whatever, give yourself some grace. It does not have to be perfect. Again, all of it is open to artistic interpretation. Okay, I'm gonna do a highlight there. And you can see already as it's drying, it's not as bright, which is good. That's what I want. You'll be fine. I had somebody that left a comment on one of my videos. It was one of the Can I Finish This Whole Book series, and they said they finished the page already, but they saw mine and now they don't want to do it anymore. And that's completely not, like, it's not what I ever want anyone to feel, that if you can't do it this way, you might as well not do it at all. Like, it's like Johanna says all the time, comparison is the thief of joy. Like, the point of my videos is I like to offer inspiration of what a page could be, but also just the enjoyment of watching a page, you know, finish from beginning to end and what the final result is. I never want anyone to feel like just because they can't do it exactly the way that I do, that they shouldn't do it. Because even if your goal was to get better at a page or do it a specific way, the best way to do that is with practice, you know? So never feel like anybody doing it differently or better should ever discourage you from doing it yourself. Art is subjective. It does not have to be perfect. The most important thing is, does it bring you joy? You know? That is my go-to. Because don't get me wrong, I get that feeling some way too, where I'll see somebody do something, I'm like, oh, that's really good. Okay. You know, like, there's always, you know, it's like they say in Star Wars, there's always a bigger fish. Well, in this case, there's always a bigger artist, you know? You see some of those people that do those hyper realistic, like it might as well be a photograph, like pencil drawings. My brain would not be able to comprehend it, like, at all. In this instance, I'm just looking at the reference photo, trying to see where the highlights go and go from there. Okay. So your reflections, like if you take a picture of a piece of fruit that you want to do, your reflections are not going to be the same as these reflections because it all has to do with your light sources. So mine is a different shape. I've got light coming from a window up here. I've got a lamp over here. I got one up here. So yeah, where your lights are going to determine where a lot of your reflections are. Okay. Let's see, let's bring this one down a little bit. Okay, we don't have a ton of straight reflections over here. This is definitely the darker side of the strawberry. Okay, we got one there. Let's do one there. Like, because honestly, I could look at this and just fiddle with it till the cows come home. But at some point, I have to step away from and be like, okay, it has expressed what you're wanting to express. It's time to step away. Okay, and a little bit there. Can't forget about that one there. And honestly, one of the other things you could do is once it dries completely, oh my gosh, this is so bright, you guys. Dang cloudy skies. Once it dries completely, you can go in and add more highlights. So I'm gonna call that strawberry done because we could easily spend another hour to do it. So I wanna show you again all the different ones because it is a reminder that they're all gonna look different. This is the 7th time I've painted this and none of them look the same. Let's turn that down one more time. There you go, see, it's more red now. Lighting was just too bright. I was in Twilight Garden yesterday, decided to do a background, these chalks, some pearlescent chalk pastels. But it was fun doing it. See, that's it, exactly. All right, so this is today's, okay? So let's see, let's put all the designer gouache ones. Are we zoomed out all the way? There we go. Okay, so this is the watercolor one. This is the student grade. This is the Arteza watercolor. Okay, so all 4 of these are with the Winsor Newton Gouache. This one being the first one I did, and clearly, like, oh, let's move our reference photo here. Oop. Well, they're well-loved cloths now. But anyway, so these are all done with the designer gouache. This is the one we did today. Okay, these are the ones that I did previously. Let's move this all up here. Okay. These 3 are the ones done with different supplies. Oh, I'm so glad you guys enjoyed it. I know it's not like our usual stuff, but I thought it'd be fun. And like I said, the more I painted the strawberry, the more confident I felt that I could give you guys some instruction. So, like I said, different supplies makes a difference. None of them are going to look exactly the same, right? So just have fun with it. Just play with your supplies and, you know, just roll with it. But I'm pretty pleased with how it is. So yeah, this one was today's. These ones are all done. I'll ride on the back of these, but yeah, I think I'm gonna put these like all in little frames or something. I don't know. We'll see. Some of them are a little smudgy, so like, and I wrote like all of the class stuff on the background. So it's like, I don't know if I could really sell these, but maybe I could like scan them in and do prints or something. I don't know, just nothing but strawberries. Absolutely, go for it. Okay, so I did promise, let's put away the paint because we don't want to get paint on anything we don't want to get paint on. I'm gonna put that up there. All right, we're gonna move the paintings. So what we have now, and we're gonna do this first, is we're gonna show you an update to the quilts. And by update, I mean NFCC, if you're watching this, I did get your message. Thankfully, your square is on the edge, so I can change that. As far as anybody else's squares, if you emailed me for the ones you won, I did update those. Others where maybe somebody requested it and I hadn't removed it from the shop, I did make a few creative decisions just because I was like, we're putting it together now, and if I haven't heard from you or maybe we don't have it, I went with what you already had on your square and tried to stick to the theme. So hang on, I'm gonna bring you something. So for the back of the quilt, I debated about going to get more fabric, but it's got like green and purple butterflies on it, and I had enough for it, so I was like, this works. Okay, so it's not done yet. I was fighting with my sewing machine last night because, anyway, it was having issues, and so I was like, this is a good time to break. But all of the squares are attached to one another, and I am in the middle of attaching the backing and, of course, the batting on the inside. Guys, I did not take into account the weight of all the charms. This is legitimately like a weighted blanket. It's crazy. Sorry, I'm trying to also look at you. Excitement building. I know, right? Right? Like this has been a big, I mean, we've been working on this for what, 2 years? Like it's been a lot. Okay, there's also pins in here still, so I want to be careful. I had a couple charms that tried to make a run for it, but I took a picture of everything, so I was able to reattach it. Okay. This is, like I said, 2 years in the making, guys. Are we ready for this? Let's see. Do I have it right way up? I do. Okay. Oh, sorry. It's hitting the mic. Okay. Drum roll, please. Ta-da! Look at how big it is. Let's see. Am I in frame? Are we big enough? I'm going to take your word for it because I can't see anything. Look at how big. Oh, here we go. I can move over a little bit more. Look at how many we've got over here. We've got our charity square there. It's huge. Now, I don't want to put it under the camera yet because things are still like, I've got pins in here and I'm going to stab myself. So when it's all together, there we go. There's ones at the bottom too. When it's all together, we'll do like a slow pan across. Hang on, look at it, Jet. Right? Like it's so cool. It's got everybody's names and all their charms, and this is easily the heaviest blanket I've ever made. So the plan is, and like I haven't moved this at all. When it's all done, it's gonna hang up in that space. And I should be able to position it. I'm gonna move these markers, but I should be able to position it so that everyone can see it. But I mean, look at it. This has been a long time. I'm being really careful with it. I don't want to jostle anymore. This has been such a project that we have been working on for ages. I'm going to carefully set it in the chair over here. But the backing is attached in some places. Yeah, it's going to look so cool when it's all done. For the border around the edge, what I'm actually doing is I had some extra green squares and I have these ones. So I'm going to stitch them together kind of like their own quilt, and I'm going to use it to make the staggered border. Ooh, do I still have, let's see, do I still have the quilt thing? Oh, here it is. Okay, so it looks basically like this. I had to move around a few squares, but you'll see on the border here, it's got the little green and then the flower. So that's what the border is going to be when it's all done. But it's so exciting. Yeah, it took a while because like I was thinking it'd be great if I had one of those huge tables with the mobile arm, right? And you just like move it around. But I've been trying to film little bits of it and we'll see how well all the clips come out. I'm hoping to put out a reel that kind of encompasses everything. I want to go back in some of our older streams, like when we first started it, and include some of the clips of those. But because I'm filming it, I'm trying to do it here. So I'm having to like Swiss roll up the sides as I send it through the sewing machine so it all fits. So I'm like, well, we'll see if this video turns out because it's entertaining. It's entertaining. Ah, thanks. Well, this was all you guys too, like spending the time, earning the points, you know, picking your charms. We've got like everything so unique. I've never made like a quilting project like this. And don't worry, Durbin, we're coming next. We're coming next because we're just gonna show you guys one more thing before we open the gifts. So if you guys wanted to see it, this is where I'm at with episode 31. I don't know where I put the card for it, but we're using a color cube card for this one. So I'm pretty pleased with it. Anyway, that's your guys' little sneaky peek. I haven't finished the rest of this yet. And then I got sick. Well, little Steve got sick. Then Steve will have been sick, so it'll get done eventually. But, okay. I'm about to go get the boxes. All right, I'm gonna move this. Okay, so I scribbled out the names and everything on there. Let me make sure I did it successfully. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good. All right, so let's see. I can put them up here, maybe. Hold on, I'll make sure. Okay, I think I'll open the boxes in my lap just in case there's like a paper inside. So here, let's switch this for a minute. And yeah, okay, we'll switch it. Okay, just a second. All right, so I'm gonna open the box. I'm gonna make sure. Perfect. Oh, look at this one. All right, here, we'll switch to this one. Look at that. See, this is great because now I am upping my Joseph Catamong one. Oh, that one's pretty. Oh, you could do so much with the eyes. That is so pretty. Oh, and that's candy. Oh, I love this one. Okay, yeah, we're most definitely gonna need to do a page in this one. Oh, that's so creative. The Venus flytraps. He is such a good illustrator. I'm so glad they like do their series. Okay, this one's really pretty, right? It's so good. Okay. Okay, let's see. I think we're pretty safe with this one. Here, I'll just hold that. Okay. There's a label on the side of this. Durbin. Okay, I'm gonna have to show you guys. Durbin, you didn't have to do this? Oh my gosh. I'm all like shaking and everything. That is so sweet. Oh my gosh. See, now I'll drink some water. We're gonna switch to here for a second. Oh my goodness. Durbin. Holy heck. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Let's take the plastic. Oh my gosh, see now I'm all like shaky more than usual. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Well, that explains the shipping thing. Because at the time I obviously didn't know what it was, but they wouldn't ship it to the P.O. box. But right? I know. Oh my goodness. And I've got a blank color chart all ready for it already. This was so sweet, Durbin. Thank you. To be honest, these weren't going to be heading my way anytime soon, like, you know, life stuff and whatnot. So this is a very happy birthday. Okay, I can't cry on stream. Move the face cam, especially when it's all zoomed in. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Like, I can't even, oh my gosh. I'm going to need to do like a swatch video and like all the things and oh my word. Okay, adjusting myself here. That is amazing. Thank you so much. That is a wonderful. You guys have made this, Durbin. You like this is all just. Ugh, I can't even. Words are not wording right now. But I know what I'm doing this afternoon. Thank you so much. Here's to 40. It's not been too shabby. Thank you so much. This is just wonderful. Appreciate it. Okay, well, I'm gonna go tear up over there, but thank you so much for the gift. I'm so right. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But I'll need to add that annotation in there. But that's pretty much it for words are very hard. But thank you guys for hanging out with me while I painted this. We got the tutorial, the quilt update. I'm hoping to finish. I don't know if I'll have a chance to get my sewing machine out again today, but I'm excited to show you guys the finished quilt. And yeah, I'm speechless. Honestly, this is incredibly generous. Thank you so much. Aww. So yeah, all right, everyone, I'm gonna head out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for being here for the tutorial, Durbin. Thank you so much for this gift. This was amazing. I'm sure because they've been sitting over here for a couple weeks. I've tried so hard. Like my mom sent some stuff and my mother-in-law sent some stuff, and so I've had this little corner of packages that I've been very well behaved, and I didn't peek, and it was really hard. But I am so excited to try these out and have fun with them, and yeah, we should be live again on Friday. Oh, wait. Will we be on Friday? Yes. Kiddo has something going on at school, but I don't think it's till the afternoon. I'll keep you all posted. Maybe we'll shift things if we need to. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me, Durbin. Thank you again. This is beyond generous. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. All right. Thanks for being here.